Hello, everybody! Welcome to the 30-second session of 200-400 heads-up action between Doug Polk and Daniel Negreanu. Last Monday, Doug posted an $80,000 win and followed it up with a $300,000 win on Wednesday, which grew his overall lead to $1,000,000 and change. But Daniel punched back in a big way on Friday with a $380,000 victory, effectively erasing Doug's gains for the week. Doug now leads by just $620,000. Will those 15 buy-ins be enough of a cushion with just over 6,000 hands to play? We're going to find out today and over the course of the next few weeks as the challenge reaches its end. My name is Mike Brady. I'm already tired of this 50s announcer's voice, and I'll be calling the cards for you today alongside fan favorite poker pro, Jamie Kerstetter. Welcome back to the stream, Jamie.
Dude, how did you not have any warning for me? Oh my god, that was amazing.
Well, we're starting off fast with a 4-bet on the right from Doug. Gets called by Daniel.
All right, next time I'll do Bruce Buffer voice. You have my word.
I would like to hear that now, but maybe we'll just save that for We get the 7-5-3 board. Doug is putting out the 1/5 pot bet. See a lot of that in the 4-bet pots. No surprise here. Call from Daniel, 5 on the turn. Daniel's going to have a hair more of those, though Doug's going to have some too. Could see a shove from Doug here. Just 25k behind, 29k in the middle. Thanks for all the kind words about that intro, guys. Check on the river. Doug's gonna pip Daniel there. Ace king versus ace queen. Pretty well played by both players, if I do say so myself.
And I would say after watching the last session, that was the first hand Doug has won in about 6 hours.
Approximately, yeah. Oh, the first pot over about 25k. He did find, I think he stacked Daniel like once on Friday, but oof, it was rough for him.
Yeah. How did the chat like that? Because I was in and out. Once I saw the number get to about 200k, I was like, you know what? This is not going to be where I invest my time tonight. It's too sad.
Yeah. It was. I'll be honest, not as fun of a session. Whoa. We just saw a limp on the button from Doug on both tables. Doug implementing a limping strategy, folks. Do not adjust your headset. A limping strategy. Doug Polk. That is really surprising.
Wow.
Perhaps has something to do with, the only 15 buy-in lead he has right now, and he's trying to sort of keep the pot smaller a little bit. Man, I'm shocked, honestly. I'm truly shocked.
I think that makes a lot of sense. It's not quite the home stretch yet, but why increase variance when you have such a sizable lead right now? We saw it with like the Galfond challenge too, that there are a lot of adjustments like that being made at the end.
Right, yeah. I mean, you would definitely expect some adjustments to be made as we see Doug showdown 2s in that limped pot. So there's a little piece of his range we're getting some info on that limping range. Daniel just got a little extra info on the right since he can see that showdown that he just won with 10-3. We're not privy to Doug's cards, though. Not sure what he could be thinking. Interesting stuff for sure. But yeah, like you said, we saw that a lot in the Galfond challenge, and we've seen it in other challenges where there's a side bet, as we see D-Dank's 4-bet on the left. They adjust their preflop strategy a little bit, maybe adjust their c-betting strategy. Usually the person ahead is trying to keep the pots a little smaller. But Doug, not really that style of guy, and with still, a fair bit of hands to play, 6,000 hands, as we see him jam the left. 5-bet all in early in this challenge, or early in today's session. Quick fold from Daniel.
It's definitely not Doug's style, but it really matters how much he has in side bets for just winning the challenge by $1, right? We don't really have that information.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to know exactly what he gains from winning the challenge by $1. I imagine it is quite a bit, judging how just from the public bets we know. It's Doug is risking, just in the 2 public bets I know of, Doug is risking around 150k, or rather, as we see Doug get paid on the right with an overbet on the river. Shoot, what was I just saying? Doug.
The side bets.
Yeah, so he has the 1 against Helmuth, that's his 25k to lose 100k, or to lose 100k to win 25k, and then he has a big one
Mhm.
against Perkins at. I don't know if the details of that one were released, but I want to say it's like something in the neighborhood of 100,000 to lose 400,000. So right there alone, that's 120,
Yeah, oh my
100.
god.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot. That's already about 500k he's losing.
And to have to
Just on those
lay 4 to
two.
1, oh my god. That's brutal.
Another limp from Doug on the right. We get ace ace 5. Daniel's check raising. People starting to funnel in. Welcome to the stream today, everyone. This is the 32nd session between these two titans of the game.
Intro, and I think if this went 100,000 hands, I'd like to see how weird you get.
Oh man, yeah, I'd have to get real weird. For those who are here for that intro, can you guys rate my 50s announcer's voice out of 10? Not for how good it was, just how much it sounded like a 50s announcer's voice. That's like the key thing. I was kind of going for the how there's a follow-up series to Avatar, that animated show on Nickelodeon. It's called Avatar Core, The Legends of Korra, or something like that. And every episode opened with a 50s announcer's voice. So that was my inspiration there. Marty Mathis, shout out to Marty in the chat, aka the Lipo Fund, says limp in the chat twice. Weird stuff, man. I would not have expected it either. Aldrig 4 Cent in the YouTube chat says there's a side bet, question mark? Not against each other. Doug and Daniel did not bet against each other. They're just playing for cold hard cash. But they've made plenty of side bets from versus other people. So effectively they have side bets against, on the match. It's just not against each other. Plays the same. Skills dat kills in the chat. Rake just got higher with limps. Good for D-Negs. Very possible.
People who missed it, they're saying, why would DNEG start limping if he wants to play big pots? It was not DNEGs who limped, as far as I know. Doug limped 2 pots, so keeping the pots kind of small, maybe minimizing variance and trying to keep his 15 buy-in lead. That's what we're thinking, but, who knows?
Well, Brandon Irwin, Mike needs to remove pip from his vocab. Get out of here. Pip is a phenomenal term. One of the best we've got in poker. I'm all for constructive criticism, but that's not acceptable.
I noticed you say pip a lot, but now it's going to bother me. Thanks a lot, chat.
Big overbet raise from Doug on the right. Facing this, I believe, delayed continuation bet from Daniel. Daniel checking back the flop, betting 1k on the turn, getting check raised fat, and he folds.
8k.
Yet another 4-bet from Daniel on the left. Chumero the True in the chat says, Doug only up 622k. He was over a mil. That's right. Daniel picked up a huge win on Friday, $380,000, biggest win of the challenge yet. Basically erased Doug's wins on Monday and Wednesday. It's kind of a funny coincidence. Doug won 80k. These are, I'm rounding, 80k on Monday, last Monday, 300k on Wednesday. Then he lost 380k on Friday. So last week was, I think Negreanu won like 2k last week. It was kind of unreal. Within 10 blinds.
Not quite
playing.
as painful.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Tough to be within 10 blinds or whatever after how many hands did they play last week? 2,500 or so. Pretty crazy.
Oh my god, if I had known that, I would have definitely trolled Doug. Just hit him up on Telegram and been like, Doug, it's okay. I'm on a 2k downswing at 2.5 also. Like, had a bad week as well. Dude, that's insane. If the challenge started like this, at least Doug had like $1 million cushion, or else this would have been a really painful way to start. But then also the side bets, you probably could get 1-to-1 or better if you were still trying to bet on Doug.
Oh, you mean if early on Daniel won like 380k off the bat or something.
Yeah, because I mean, he won the live sesh, and then people were kind of expecting that. I guess I wasn't, but I think people were because he has live pro skills. But imagine if he followed that up with his biggest session of like plus 380k or something.
Right, and then
Oh my God.
and then the people are like, oh, D-Negs beat him live because he's supposed to, and then he came into Doug's turf and beat him online. Clearly, Daniel's better because
Yep.
that's how it works. Always make big inferences off of small sample sizes. That's what we teach at Upswing
That's what I
Poker.
always say.
One of the most important things about being in poker, being interested in this game at all, see one thing happen and then make huge adjustments based on that. It's very, very good. And by the way, there's too many casual poker players watching. I am kidding. Don't do that. I don't want to steer anyone the wrong way.
All right, people. Sorry, go ahead.
We are starting a prediction on Twitch. So if you are on Twitch, go ahead and bet your channel points or whatever on Doug or Daniel to win. If you're on YouTube, drop a 1 in the chat if you think Doug's going to take this one home today, just the session. Drop a 2 in the chat if it's going to be all Daniel. What were you going to say, Jamie? Sorry to cut you off.
Seeing Gazzy in the chat, I was going to say hello, new friend Gazzy. And then the comment right above it was, don't put Gazzy in, he's not as good looking or something like that. You could always count on chat, like, to neutralize any compliment someone might be receiving. But Gazzy, we love you. Come back.
See some people already dropping their questions for Doug at the end of the session. As always, Doug will be joining us when play ends. The first question that people are asking, yo, Doug, what's up with those limps? I got you.
I'm kind of sad. Well, obviously, I'm very sad Doug's not just up $2 million. Because can you imagine the kind of stuff he would do for fun if it was just if he's smooth sailing, just limping, like min betting every street, seeing if he could triple check raise one hand, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just like that reminds me of remember Poker Table Ratings? Is that what it was called? The site where you could look up anyone on Full Tilt or Stars, maybe other sites too, their cash game stats basically. Long extinct site, as we see Daniel 3-bet on the right.
Yep.
There were a bunch of badges on that site, like, and one of them was, for example, there might be a badge if you play 1,000 big blind pot, and you'd get like a little icon next to your name on this site. There was one that was the triple sandbagger, and it was if you check raise 3 times in a hand. And I remember, this is how lame I was when I was a 17-year-old poker player. I was like, I want that badge, and I just had a friend sit me at heads up, and then I just triple check raised him for like min, and I was like, got it.
Cheater.
Just absolutely no respect for the game. Luckily, Full Tilt is long defunct. Otherwise, they could close my account for collusion right now.
That's like worse than multi-accounting what you just did.
Yeah. Faking the badges.
Yeah. Table on the left, we got another 4-bet by Daniel. And flatted by Doug.
Let's see if Daniel decides to break out that 5th pot bet that both players like in the 4-bet pots. Just about 4th pot instead of a 5th. Daniel does take it down there.
In the chat again, what's up, buddy? I enjoyed the commentary the other day. I want to know if there's any more prop bets in the works. I feel like once you do the basketball one, you focus on it for so long. Isn't there just like a hole in your life where you used to just wake up and shoot free throws?
That must be bizarre. Doug limps on the right. We see our first 4x over the limp from Daniel. Definitely a good sizing choice from him there. See what Doug decides to do. You would imagine that Doug is not only going to be limp folding and then limp calling with some hands, he's also going to have some hands that limp and 3-bet. Otherwise, the strategy would be pretty damn bad, really, if there's no re-raises. Would allow Daniel to basically raise and see flops with impunity. Never what you want to do in a heads-up match. Let your opponent realize all that equity. Daniel Murring says, summarize the side bets. Unfortunately, I can't do that for you, man. It's not public information. We do not know. You would have to ask Doug or Daniel, and you probably wouldn't get an answer.
Curious if after the challenge is over, they'll be willing to say.
I think there's a good chance they will. We see Daniel check raise on the left and then go for the small bet on the flush completing turn. Doug does call that small bet, 11K in the middle now. Doug does go for a $7,500 bet. And he does take it down. Doug going for delay c-bet in that limped pot on the right. He takes it down. I saw someone notice, or rather, I noticed someone ask on YouTube, is Doug implementing that limping strategy because Daniel is 4-betting more? No, because Daniel 4-bets when he's on the button. You know, he raises, Doug would 3-bet and he would 4-bet. So just moving with your train of thought, Doug might do it because Daniel's 3-betting more. I don't know for sure if that's why, though. Almost certainly this has to do with decreasing variance in some way, but there could be some sort of other factor where Doug is deciding that a limping strategy will work well against D-Negs in his current form for one reason or another. It's hard to say exactly what that would be.
If I were Doug, I would just troll the hell out of both of us and do one weird thing in the beginning of the stream so that we're obsessed with it and we talk about it and chat asks about it and it's for no reason.
Yeah, perfect. That sounds about right. This question from the chat, is Doug hamstringing himself somewhat by playing the 1/3 pot size in position as out of P? Well, that doesn't. I just read it. I started to read a question and then it didn't make sense because it said in position and out of position at the same time. So my bad. I should have read that whole thing before I started reading it. Ooh, someone in chat defending Daniel's more rake is better comments. Good stuff there.
Nice.
Ooh, Dan Cotty. Shout out to Dan Cotty in the chat. One of our most consistent Daniel fans says, stop, and they highlighted this message. So they paid channel points, which I'm sure are very valuable. Stop sugarcoating it. Doug is limping because he is afraid. Perhaps Doug is afraid. We will get his answer at the end of the session when we ask him what's up with the limping strategy.
Well, why do we even have to ask him? Dan Caddy told us it's because he's afraid. We have the answer now.
Ah, yeah, so we don't have to ask.
Yeah.
Aldrig for Cent in the YouTube chat has an interesting theory. Adding pot control at this stage via limping, so keeping the pot smaller, maybe tilting for Daniel as well, since he'd prefer to increase variance. It'd drive me crazy if I were down. That's, I think, a great point.
Yep.
Daniel has said he's trying to play a more, I think he even said like donk game, though I don't think he meant like donkey, like a bad player, but more like very splashy is what he was saying publicly. He was going to try to play a high variance style to try to get the money back. And we saw it worked amazingly well on Friday. When you hit hands and you try to play a high variance style, you're going to win heaps. And he did. So maybe this is Doug saying, you know, I see you going for that strategy and I'm not going to let you. at least in the pots where I'm on the button. Johnny Black rants, maybe DNegs is close enough to optimal that Doug wanted to hit parts of the game tree that he hasn't studied. I think the first half of that question is perhaps. I don't think DNegs is close enough to optimal. I don't think. Well, no, I think the spirit of what you're saying is correct in that it's something that Daniel almost certainly hasn't studied as much as just facing a raising strategy, which we've seen Daniel get better and better throughout the challenge at that. I'm sure he has great solver generated preflop charts for playing against a raise. Maybe he doesn't have them for playing against a limp, right? So yeah, maybe this could be something that throws him off. As we see Doug 3-bet on both tables. The right one gets through. On the left, he does get called. 10-9-2 on the flop. Paul McNamara, DNeg shouldn't have sat out on Friday when they were deep then. For sure, you would, as DNegs, you would want to keep going. That said, I think there's a couple things at play there. One, and I think this is the main thing, they had been playing for 5 hours. You have to imagine that Daniel's game after 5 hours, he's going to feel a lot less confident in it than, after 2 hours. So it makes sense that he would be close to wrapping it up at that point. The other thing, and this is pure speculation, I think he probably wanted to lock up the biggest win of the challenge and be able to say that he got the biggest win and go into that go into his post-session interview, be like, yeah, got him, all that stuff. Whereas if he continued to play deep, there was always that risk that, even if it's not a skill thing, even if he just runs his kings into Doug's aces and loses 100K and all of a sudden his lead's only 280 on the day.
Are you trying to say that Daniel's a little bit petty and he's not same guy, win or lose, totally even-keeled?
I mean, there aren't many people who are, and Daniel Negreanu certainly is not one of them.
The other thing, I didn't see how the stack sizes were shaking out at the end of that, but I thought Daniel had 2 massive stacks and Doug did not. Was he still, what was he, like 90K deep or something, or was it more?
Yeah, so at one point it was Daniel had like 250K to 300K stacks to Doug's 40, so just Doug absolutely buried with the minimum he could have, 100 blinds, and then basically Doug doubled up on both tables. So he had 80 on one, maybe 90 on the other. So, but they were about 200 blinds deep on both tables, and that's when Daniel cut it. And if he had double Doug up on either table, it would have brought his lead for the day to under 300K. So again, just speculating. All this stuff happened at the same time, so I'm a little suspicious. I have to imagine it was maybe at least a little tiny part of Daniel's calculus there on why to end the session.
Please, you don't have to explain that to me. I have all these emotional reasons for continuing or stopping playing poker. Very rarely is it just, I don't know, I'm kind of tired, so I'm going to play suboptimally. Like, a lot of the times it's like plus life EV kind of things where I'm like, I'm in a really good mood. I want to go to dinner with my friends or whatever. Like, you don't really want to mess with that when you've had a good day and you kind of just want to like feel good for a minute.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's totally a reasonable approach, especially if the main reason you're quitting is, well, I've been playing for 5 hours. I feel like I'm getting a little less sharp, which who doesn't get less sharp after 5 hours of play?
Yep. Oh, you'll see it if we do commentary for 5 hours. At the end, we're just like, oh, whatever. I don't know, 3-bet, 4-bet pot. We weren't watching.
Luke Westby with a question for Doug and / online poker pros. Does he have any routine, meals, caffeine for high stakes sessions? Playing optimal poker requires optimal mind. We asked him that at the end of another stream. They all blur together so much, but it was basically the answer you'd expect. He tries to get a workout in, eats clean or whatever, all the stuff you'd expect. It was nothing super unique that was worth me even really remembering, right? So yeah, I wish I could forward that info to you from the past, but I just can't recall it at the moment.
My goodness, I'm so sorry. I had my speed on the replayer at medium, which is like it'll take you 10 minutes to watch the hand. But yeah, interesting hand we just missed. Where Doug made a nice value bet. It was second pair, 2 pairs, 10s and 8s with no kicker.
Yeah, he had 8-5 on 10-10-8 rainbow. I believe he bet the flop, check back the turn, bet the river.
Looks like it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. He actually limp called pre-flop. So that's our
Oh yeah.
first. That was our first limped pot that got interesting. So
Yep.
just to recap that, guys, Doug limped pre-flop, Daniel 4x to 1600, which is a very standard way to approach playing against a limper. To raise to 4x, he gets called by Doug with 8-5. The flop comes 10-10-8, so Doug has the pair of eights. The flop, Daniel bets 800 into 3200. Doug calls, turn goes check check on a 3, river's a 3, so it's 10-10-8, 3-3. Daniel checks to Doug, who puts in about a 2/3 pot size bet, and Daniel pays him off. So for those who are just tuning in, you did not mishear me. Doug is limping some buttons today. Decides to mix in those limps, just the call button. We have not seen the call button hit too much in the opening pre-flop spots this session at all, actually.
Oh, it's just now we can say, limp, raise, fold. It's all a mix.
We could literally do anything now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, someone corrected me in chat that the public side bets, someone said it a bit ago, were much bigger than what I said. I think Doug has... Oh, God dang it. Can't believe I didn't say it out loud when I saw it. The person said it's way bigger than I said. I said it was 100K to Doug's 400K to Bill Perkins' 100K. They said it was bigger. So
Okay.
I don't remember how much bigger. If you want to help me out again and drop that in the chat, I'll give you the shout out you deserve. 500K to 2 million. Thank you to Cipher.
More
Yeah, so
importantly, though, Dinger in chat says that if Daniel wins, he's going to shave his eyebrows and eat them.
Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of gross.
I would not look forward to that.
Mm-mm.
Block bet on the river from Daniel on the left. He's got a straight. Certainly going to win there. Check called the flop with his gutter ball. Turned it. Check, check, though. Then he block bet the river, got paid off. And Doug takes down the pot on the right. That was just a check down 3-bet pot where Doug put in a river bet. Shout out to Frida94 on Twitch. They were the first person to say the 500K to 2 million bet. Thank you.
We blindly accept the things that we were being told on Twitch, though. It's a good policy.
Argentus asks, why is it so important to make it $23.99 and not $2,500? Asks the noob. Appreciate the transparency. In both of their cases here, they're using something like Table Tamer, a program that basically you're able to preset bet sizes. So, for example, maybe you want one of your main bet sizes to be 66% of the pot. So if there's 3 in the pot, you'll bet 2. You'll just have a button for that. So it might be weird. You're like, why are they typing in $2,297? And the answer in this case is they're just hitting a preset button. That said, there are a lot of people who will just type in weird numbers all the time. So this doesn't always explain it. But in these two cases, it does. 3-bet pot on the left, ace 5-4. Doug is the 3-better. Checks to Daniel, who puts in a small little 2K bet.
My favorite running joke when you and I commentate together is that the chat will tell me that my jokes are good and they give you shit for not laughing at me. Big Steeler, don't worry, Jamie. We found it funny. Thank you, chat. I appreciate some of you.
Big Steeler's a 500 NL Zoom reg too, so it's funny if he thinks it's funny.
Oh, nice. All right. This is how it works, though, chat. Brady is focusing on the poker because he knows how to play poker, and I'm just making jokes for chat, so it's okay if he's busy.
Yeah, well, one thing about you with your jokes is you keep a very deadpan delivery. So where if I'm doing this with David Lappin or Gazzy or someone like that, I can tell based on how their voice sounds during what they're saying that they're about to make a joke. So I can be prepared to be like, okay, they're about to make a joke. I should pay attention and make sure I understand the joke and laugh. In your case, I just think you're talking about the poker or something, or the chat or whatever. And then out of nowhere, there's a punchline. And I didn't hear the delivery, so I don't I just have to be like, yeah.
I can't wait till I just deliver some kind of random poker commentary and you think it's a joke and you're like, ha ha ha.
Rogue Shenanigans says, I mean, the fact that Mike managed to not break into hysterics during the luck rant shows that he's just built different. Just the one gamer, or who was that? Rogue Shenanigans is referring to the absolutely hilarious Doug interview that went out a couple days ago, which, by the way, if you missed it, we cut the whole thing, overlaid the relevant hands that he's talking about, and put it up on Doug's channel. So go check that out on Doug's channel. It's from a few days ago. Really, really funny stuff. I think it came out last Thursday.
Yeah.
But for what it's worth, Rogue Shenanigans, I definitely cracked up in that interview. There was one point where I started to ask a question when Doug gave me a brief pause, which there were very few of in that interview. And I started to ask the question, and I just started laughing in the middle of the question because it was the whole situation was just too funny.
People show me the interview, the one that Lappin, who did an awesome job commentating a couple times, he cut it, he mashed it up, whatever, and I had friends being like, see, they're both the same. They're both the same person. Look how bad they both whine. And I'm like, Doug is like joking 90% of the time.
Yeah, Doug was it what? That's such an insane take. Doug
It's
was
insane.
The whole
yes.
point was Doug was satirizing Daniel's
Yep.
interviews. That was the whole point.
Yep.
Oh. Though that said, I do think they are similar in a few ways, including being fans of attention. I do think they both like that.
Oh wow, let's go through it, Brady. Let's unload everything you got to say. Tell me the main similarities between Doug and D-Nex.
That's the number one for sure. Is they both seem to be quite big fans of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Getting in the mix, if you will. That's how Doug would probably put it.
And yeah, Doug would put it as getting in the mix, and Daniel would put it as, oh, Doug's riding my coattails. He's trying to get famous. He's trying to pay his rent with clicks through my name.
Yeah. Yeah, Upswing wasn't selling any courses until Daniel started to, or until Doug started to make jokes about Daniel, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we see our first sit out of the match from Daniel. Likely just a pee break. He tends to do that around the 30-minute intervals every session, though he did not do that on Friday. He did not take as many breaks on Friday. Did not want to break his momentum. All right, so I have a few questions for you, chat. What's the hand in poker that you have lost the most money with? Just to be clear, I'm talking to you, chat. What hand have you lost the most money with in any game? Commiserate in chat for us. This is your time. No hands are happening. While I'm waiting for your answers, Bjorn She asks, question for Brady: should the limping affect the size of the regular raise size preflop? Would the raises not be more polarized once you start limping? That's a great question. I'm not sure. What I'm almost certain of is both would be fine. So if you want to limp and raise to 2.8x or whatever, as long as it's accompanied by good ranges that are solved for those sizes, it's gonna have extremely similar EV, expected value, to limping and raising 2.2x or whatever. The sizing isn't gonna make like a huge difference. You might be right that it's technically optimal to use the larger size if you are gonna raise and limp, but again, I doubt it's super consequential either way.
8-5 suited was the only hand we've seen him show down where he limped, right? We'd have to see what his limping range.
Pocket twos.
Oh, pocket twos as well. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I would love to see exactly what his limping range looks like. I feel like then we'd be able to answer that question about raise sizing, right? A little bit easier.
Yeah, it's probably extremely mixed. I would have to guess. Like certain hands, just if I had to imagine the grid, it's probably a whole mess of hands in the sort of bottom, and then some at the top limping like 25 to 50% of the time, raising the rest of the time, or something along those lines. I bet it really looks complicated, whatever the chart is. Couple limped pots here. Krabichow in the chat.
I love K-Rab.
Yeah, K-Rab in the chat. Great heads up player says, wow, Doug is Doug limping today? Yes, he is, Kevin. I was just as surprised as you were.
And I'm sure DNX does too. Can you see DNX coming in after having won like over 300K and he's like, I'm just gonna mangle this guy again. And then he sees the limp and he's like, what the fuck? Because he almost definitely didn't work on this, right? You wouldn't see this coming from Doug.
No, not at all. Not at all. But I guess on like, classic in retrospect thinking here, but if I would expect Doug to make any such adjustment to his game, I would expect it to be something that is very rigid, or a spot that can be looked at in a very rigid way, like preflop, because he's not really the type of guy to start, doing, let's call it jungle poker, like intuitive sort of style poker on like the turn,
Yeah.
the river. He doesn't really do that kind of thing, or the classic one, overfolding versus river aggression. Not really
Mhm.
Doug style, even against a tight opponent. To a lot of our fans' chagrin here. But as we see Doug go for a very big bet on the right, he's going for 5,200 into 1,500. Is that? Or no, 3,500.
3,500.
I missaw. So only about one.
Do you need me? Do you need me to make the table a little bit bigger? I can do
Yeah,
it.
if that one could be a little bigger, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, it does make sense that Doug would, if there's any spot he's going to start doing something unorthodox, it would be something where he could just run a sim, have a chart, study the chart, and play like the chart, and he knows it's good, essentially.
Yeah. I can't wait till next session when he just drops a 5x pre.
That'd be amazing. SS Monkey, gonna be a boring session if he keeps limping. Glad you make it up with commentating. Appreciate that, man.
Oh, nice.
It won't necessarily be boring. Well, we could see some really interesting stuff. I mean, just think about it. Doug limps, Daniel 4x's to 1,600. Ooh, Doug makes it 7K or whatever. Ooh, that's fun, right? Maybe we'll see some of that.
Do you think that's the size? Isn't that a little bit big? Or you think that would be the sizing?
That does seem big. I just pulled a number out of thin air because I got to the middle of that sentence way faster than I expected.
I don't have that as much, but when I first started commentating, that was always a fear. I'm like, I'm in the middle of a sentence. I'm like, how's this gonna end? We don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, it's brutal. There's an Office Michael Scott joke about that.
Oh, really?
Sometimes I just start a sentence and I don't exactly know where it's going to go. Something like that.
Great.
Here's my philosophy. Never, ever, for any reason, to anyone or anybody, ever, for any reason, limp on the button. Something like that.
It's great.
Extend it by like 7 clauses. Ooh, COVID guy. Firing shots. Jamie's got dog greater than Mike's dog.
Whoa.
That is...
Not true. All dogs are perfect.
All dogs are perfect indeed. Daniel's going to drag $1,600 pot on the right. Pair of 10s that he rivered. Going a third pot for Doug on the left. Gets through.
Lappin Poker says awesome Carol impersonation. Can you sing us a song, Brady?
Not right now, maybe later.
Maybe later, okay.
So, someone asked to see the dog. She had a really rough day, guys, so if you could send condolences to this sweet puppy.
Yeah, she has a scratched cornea right now.
Something like that. She got something in her eye yesterday that we saw, and it was pretty irritated. A bunch of red near where it was, so we took her into the vet today. They took it out, so that's good, but they seem to have damaged the eye a little bit. Just not that much. We just need to give her antibiotic drops for a couple days, but sad stuff. She had a rough day. Sitting in a vet alone for several hours, a couple hours.
That's poor baby.
Excitable.
You know what would make her feel better if Doug wins 300K today? I think she'd feel a little bit better.
Well, I think she would like that. Would you like if Doug won 300K? Yeah, she would. Excitable One says, any chance we get another stream out of Doug before the challenge is over? No. There's no chance. I normally say probably not, stuff like that, because I'm not Doug, so I can't answer definitively normally when it comes to these questions, but that one I can answer definitively. No shot.
Yeah, I feel like if he didn't just lose over 300K last stream, if he won 300K that stream, I feel like we would have had a chance.
Yeah, that's a good point. Perhaps a chance. So maybe there is still a chance if Doug just puts up like a massive number today and then another
Hmm.
massive number on Wednesday or
Yeah.
something. And yeah, so I guess if you want to see Doug stream again, you probably need to root for him to be up by like 1.5 million for him to even consider
Yeah.
it, because he was really regretful of that stream. I will say, like he was like, I gave away way too many hands, was way too
Hmm.
distracted. So yeah,
Oh my
Doug.
god, it was such a mess too. He had the hand strength indicator on the left, so even though he's covering his cards, it would be like, "You have 2 pairs, kings
Right.
and sixes."
So ridiculous. I was driving during that one. I'm normally like hands on the streams, but I was driving
Yeah.
during that one. I got texts and tweets and emails as we see Doug's pot size bet on the left get through. Basically, every platform I could possibly be hit up, I got messages saying, "Hey, Mike, we can see Doug's cards."
Yep.
And then the other crazy thing is, it was impossible to get in touch with Doug, so we had to contact his girlfriend, who was just pulling into the neighborhood. She was out too, so very lucky that she was just arriving at home.
We
Otherwise,
could
Doug
hit
would have.
up, like, his assistant or maybe Binks. I got Binks's phone number. There's a couple
I
things we could have done.
I have Binks's Instagram, but I don't have his phone number.
Oh, wow, I guess you're not as close with them.
I guess not. Abby, can you stop? There's a stream going on.
Excitable says, "Even the last session when there's nothing to lose, there's still focus to lose." I don't know if you've ever tried streaming before, but it does take your attention away. It's, like, hard to get into flow state when you are thinking about other things and how to entertain people or even how to explain your thought process instead
Right.
of just, like, going with instinctually what you know you should do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime you're diverting your attention, that's not good, which is why people who have a lot of money on this match, like Dan Smith and Timex and such, are not so thrilled that when they log onto Twitter and see Doug has 12 tweets in the last half hour,
Yes.
and he's while simultaneously playing 200 400. But you gotta take the Doug with the Doug.
Yeah.
Doug, D-
Also, Doug had his hugest winning session the day that he was tweeting
right.
constantly. He's insane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that if that doesn't show, or if that doesn't help people realize that there's so much variance in these matches,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, what the results of one single session are dominated by the variance of that session, basically, then nothing will put it through. Doug's tweeting through his biggest winning session, focusing through his biggest loss. It's just not, those factors are small compared to who just gets the better cards and the better luck
Yep.
each session. So far, Doug's been a little luckier this session, of about 25K, as we see Daniel's 3-bet on the left get through. Michael Poll on YouTube. Isn't Binks Doug's dog? Yes, Binks is Doug's dog. That's who we're talking about. For those who don't know, Doug's dog Binks, I believe his his Instagram is called Binkstagram.
It's cute.
Yeah,
I recommend.
Binkstagram. Maybe with an underscore at the end or something, but you'll find it if you want to see his little Pomeranian dog.
Yep. Very cute. Smitty Bono asked, "Is Jamie sitting on the floor and leaning on the bed?" No, I'm sitting on this very low. I have a very rigged setup today. I am at my mother's house. I came to visit my grandma, who's not doing great. So I'm in New Jersey randomly, but I made the best setup I could. I might sound like I'm streaming through a potato, and I'm on the lowest computer chair of all time. Please don't make fun of me. That's all.
Donkati getting feisty today. Sign up to Upswing Poker for more lessons on about poker mostly being just luck. I said for one session, it's mostly luck. You need to create your own luck in the long run. And if you do want to create your own luck, there's really only one place to do it, upswingpoker.com. Loads of poker training courses and tools for different skill levels and game types, all the way from introductory to advanced. We have people who barely know the hand rankings buying courses from Upswing, and we have former World Series of Poker champions and high stakes regs buying Upswing Poker courses. Really, there's something for everyone. So yeah, check out Upswing Poker if you want to improve your skills. The main thing I want to highlight on Upswing Poker is the upcoming PLO course, as we see Doug 3-bet on the right and it gets through. The upcoming PLO Launchpad is a beginner-friendly Pot Limit Omaha course. If you want to become a winner at Pot Limit Omaha fast, this is going to be the course to do it. It's only going to be $99. 5+ hours of content. You get lifetime access to it. And if you join during the first week, comes out on February 8th. If you join during the first week, you're going to get the PLO Matrix preflop tool for $1 for your first month with no obligation to stay on that. It's a great tool. You'll enjoy it even if you only use it for the 1 month. So yeah, if you have ever thought about getting into Pot Limit Omaha, have maybe been too daunted by it like I have, this is going to be the course for you. I'm definitely going to take this one. The last PLO course we put out was great, but it was 30 hours and not meant for people just getting started in PLO. So it
30
was, yeah, I watched some of it and picked up some stuff, but it's advanced. Like, that's for people who are already PLO players. This new one, for the most part, or people who just want to like go pro at PLO. But this new one is more for people just getting started. That's why it's called the PLO Launchpad. So yeah, hope you guys will check that out on February 8th. Enough of the ads. Couple single raise pots here.
After half an hour, I was like, wow, there's a break and there's been no shilling at all. And then I didn't want to jinx it. But then you really made up for it 15 minutes later.
I got you guys. I know you're here for the chills. Capitalize. What's the old PLO course called? I wouldn't call it old. It came out less than a year ago, but it's called Advanced PLO Mastery. And that's the 30-hour comprehensive course on PLO, super, super in-depth. That one's it's amazing for sure. And we've had some members who got it. You know, it's only been about a year, and they have amazing results. A friend of mine took it, and he's up something like $250,000 this year on Ignition, or in the past 12 months. So definitely a lot of great stuff to learn in that one. But like I said, if you're more of a beginner when it comes to PLO, or even kind of intermediate, the PLO Launchpad might be for you.
They said Netflix and chill. Nice line 8. Yes, I will be your wife. Let's get this done.
Worked. Rowans asked what happened on the hand on the left. Was blocked by the commercial. Was there a hand blocked? Let me. Oh, the Ace King 4 board. Oh yeah, it's just someone took it down with a river bet. I believe Daniel. Let me double check. Yeah, Daniel took that one down with a river bet on the King Jack 4 Ace Ace. I try to time the ad so those overlays don't cover a sweet hand, but you know, tough to do.
Chat, what's up, buddy? Hello.
4,600 in the middle on the left, 4 straight on the board. Doug checks over to Daniel. See what Daniel decides to do. Will he take a stab at this $4,600 pot? He does not. He's going to let Doug win with top pair. Doug, unlikely to go anywhere with that one.
Sorry, chat's funny.
Melkor84 asks if my art behind me is pop art Putin. Not quite. Not quite.
That would be maybe the most random thing you could have behind you if it was, though.
Okay, no kidding. Pot size bet from Daniel on the right, gets called from Doug. Check on the river. Doug's going to win with 2 pair. Good decision from Daniel not to bet that river, though he likely had some showdown value, so might have been not much of a decision at all. Yeah, just real quick, that is Louis Brandeis, former Supreme Court Justice, and it's an Andy Warhol. Well, it's not actually an Andy Warhol print, but you know, it's a copy of one. So it's not pop art. It's not only is it not pop art, it's approximately a 90-year-old piece of art.
Yeah, it's like basically unpop art.
Yeah. Yeah. Or wait, technically maybe it is pop art, because didn't Andy Warhol sort of pioneer that whole concept?
Yeah, it like got cool again. It's so yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know anything about archives. Sorry, I kind of talked out of my ass there. And whenever you talk out of your ass on stream, it doesn't go well. That's just a fact. Yeah, Krong's guy says Andy Warhol is like the definition of pop art. My mistake. For some reason, you know what popped into my head? Those pop figurines. That you don't know what I'm talking about? Those little
No.
toys that they make of like everything from Game of Thrones to like politicians. They make little toys of these things of
And it's like a big head on a little
yeah,
body. Is
yeah.
that
So the
yeah, I know
person
what
said
you're talking
pop
about.
art, and my monkey brain was like, yeah, pop figurines. Yeah.
Funko Pops, says Sisyphus laughing. Funko Pops. I know what you're talking about. I have no idea how, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
Randy Swanee, stick to poker, Mike. I'll try, man. It's hard. Other topics come up, you know.
I like when you don't stick to poker as much, but also they just said that you speaking is like watching a normal live stream in 2.0 speed.
In what? Oh,
It's at
2.0 speed.
2.0 speed. Yeah, I like that though. The thing that drives me the craziest is when people take forever to get their words out, and I'm like, oh my god, it's hard to concentrate. I'd rather speedy talkers.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fast talker. That's been one of the complaints I've gotten during the stream is people, especially English second language people, saying, please slow
Yeah.
down. I try for you guys, I promise. I really do. Can you imagine how fast I would talk if I wasn't trying to speak slower? It would be oof. Wow, tweet from Jay Farber. Taking off my gym pants, putting on troll pants, on my way to fuck up your chat.
Nice. Let's go. Troll pants. It's great. I just missed what the screen name was. They asked if we moved anywhere after online poker got outlawed in the States. And
Hold
yes,
on,
I spent a year
hold
and a
that
half in Puerto
hold
Rico.
that thought to
Four bet.
use a Gazzy term. We have a 4-bet from Daniel on the left.
All right, from now on,
Hold
you
that
can be
thought.
Gazzy. Yeah, and I'll be you. Makes
Hold
sense.
that thought. Hold that thought for a minute, everybody. We've got a 4-bet pot. That's really bad, right? That's not even close.
That's not really that bad, but also like, how am I at discerning accents? I'm not great.
Yeah, Scottish accents are tough. Small bet from Daniel on that 4-bet pot on the left. Doug calls. We've got 33K, 32K in the middle, 33K behind. Could see a shove here from Daniel. Very draw heavy board.
Chat, is Mike having a stroke?
I'm getting insanely good Gazzy and never do that again. So
yeah,
could go both
I mean,
ways.
that's how I feel about Gazzy's accent too.
Ooh, Frederick Melms. If you're interested in Louis Brandeis and early 20th century Supreme Court justices, you need to read The House of Truth. It's a great book. I didn't need to read that out loud, but it sounds like a great book, so maybe it deserves that little shout out. I will definitely check that out. Thank you for the rec. Small bet from Daniel on the left in a 3-bet pot.
The Lapin Gazzy stream, we really needed subtitles. I don't know why you guys weren't on it.
The auto-generated YouTube subtitles for that stream were pretty damn decent, I will say.
Really?
Surprisingly decent, yeah. Min
That's
bet from Doug on the
disappointing.
right. Well, there were also some lulls when it didn't understand what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Check raise from Daniel on the right. 1600 over 400 on the left. Again, this is a 3-bet pot. Daniel bet about 2K on the flop. Check on the turn. See what happens on the river as we see the check raise get called on the right. Couple pots brewing here. There has not been too much action today, but it is starting to heat up a little bit right now. Pot size or over pot size bet from Daniel here, about 110%. bet from Doug on the left gets through on the river. He takes that one down, and the turn bet gets through for Daniel. So you were saying a moment ago they asked if we moved anywhere
Yes.
when Black Friday hit in 2011. So yeah, you want to finish your
Mhm.
answer? You said you moved to Rosarito.
Oh, yeah, that's a very short answer. Yep, I was in Rosarito, Mexico, which is like 40 minutes south of San Diego, and I was there for a year and a half, but just a few months at a time, and I'd come back to the States when I was homesick. How about you?
Yeah, I went to Rosarito as well, but it was before you were there. I was there so Black Friday was in April 2011. We started
Mhm.
planning to move out of the country a month or so later, and then got to Rosarito, I want to say August of 2011, and then left in mid 2012. So we were there for like,
Mm.
I want to say 8 months. Daniel's pipping Doug on the
Okay.
left to drag a 9K pot, pair of tens versus pair of nines.
You love Pip. Yeah, I probably overlapped with you a month or two. It's funny too because I was friends with Jay Lama and hang out with him a lot. Jay Lama, who also makes some upswing courses on mixed games. But yeah, we were not friends at the time. I
Indeed.
didn't know a Mike Brady existed.
Yeah, I don't think I knew about Jamie Kerstetter either. Sad to say. Amused, lol. How's life in Rosarito? It was good, man. I mean, it was a little bit
Slow.
slow. There was also this weird veil of like Americanization where, there was a Walmart and there was a Home Depot and there was a McDonald's and there was all these American things,
Mhm.
and I think that's because it was a tourist destination. So that took a lot of
Yep.
the authenticity about away from the area. There weren't as many super authentic. There were a lot of options still, but not quite as many authentic restaurants and things to do as maybe a place that's a little less touristy. It's also a dead tourist area. There aren't many
Yep.
tourists, so that gets kind of sad.
Well, that was the
But
problem. They had filmed they filmed Titanic there. So there was this huge box studio that was completely defunct. Their buildings are like dilapidated and falling apart because basically there were a bunch of tourists, there was a bunch of money flowing in, and then there wasn't anymore. So a lot
right,
of the stuff was not in good shape. They had half-built apartment buildings that they just didn't finish. And then another thing is I thought I was going to go there and like become somewhat bilingual. I was studying a little bit for it and everything. And then I went there and every person who from like a server to a clerk at a store to a random person you talked to on a beach was somewhat bilingual. They'd speak to you in English because it had
right,
been such a tourist destination before. So I
right.
didn't really have the pressure to learn, which was a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, that kind of same here. I was able to order a hamburguesa,
Yep.
but other than that, there weren't many opportunities to speak Spanish and
Yeah.
learn it. Bit of a lull in the action here.
Zavexi says limping king 8 off. Isn't that too strong to limp? What's your take on that, Brady?
No, I mean, as if you're gonna have a limping range, it has to be protected. So even a hand like aces would have to be in there, or at least very strong hands would have to be in there. So there's not really a too strong to limp. It's more of how often is he limping with that hand. If we see him limp with pocket kings and he's limping pocket kings every time, yes, that is too strong of a hand to limp. But if it's just a part of his strategy to limp it at some frequency, it's not
Mhm.
really a concern. But you are right. As part of a normal heads up button strategy, you would raise that hand. It's more than strong enough. On the left, we see Daniel rivering a flush on the 4-card flush board. He drags a $4,400 pot.
Um, Big Steeler had the correct answer to that question. You did a good job giving us the second best answer, but Big Steeler said, yeah, to be honest, I don't know why he doesn't just limp his weekends only.
Yeah, that does. It seems good. Just limp
Yeah.
only your weak hands. Then the pot's small when you have a weak hand. What could possibly go wrong? Unless your opponent perhaps caught onto that and then started to
Yeah, but
blast.
I'm just saying the sarcastic response is the right response, and you did a good second place job.
Someone had a good chat here a moment ago. God dang it. Oh, my Noretta says it's not live. Yes, we are live. I don't know what made you think we're not, but we are. Limped pot on the left. Doug goes for the c-bet. Check, check on the turn. Let's see if Daniel decides to put in a river bet. He does. Block size, about a third pot. He does get called. And he's good with that turned pair of fives. Nice hand for Daniel there. Michael Quinn says, okay, Mike, what effective stack do you stop limping? 20, 30, 40, 50? What do you... They're 100 blinds deep now. So what do you mean? Feel free to clarify and I will come back to it. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it. Drake Coleman, this isn't live. If this was live, you'd know what time it is right now in Madagascar. Well, there's no way for me to find out what time it is in Madagascar, so unfortunately, I can't prove that we're live. Starting to see quite a lot of people funnel in. We're at about our normal viewer counts for the day as we see Doug break out that small lead on the board pairing card on the right. So welcome to all of you who have just arrived. Daniel's raising on the right versus that small bet. 3-bet pot on the left. Doug is the 3-better. D-Nex took down that pot on the right with the raise. Let's see what happens versus Doug C-bet on the left. He does take it down. Not too much action so far. Another thing to catch you up on, all of you who have just tuned in, Doug is limping today. He started limping his buttons, as we just saw on the right. We've seen him show down. We've seen him show down pocket twos and 8-5 suited so far. I might be missing some other showdowns, but those are the two we've seen in his limping range.
And with so little going on in poker, there's going to be like 7 Poker News articles about Doug limped from the button.
We actually almost certainly have to have an upswing article about it because we're gonna have a lot of questions about that. So
you hear that, Lappin? Start your writing, buddy.
Yeah, get to it, bud. And the other thing, someone said, wait, wasn't Doug up $1 million? Yes, he was. He lost Friday's session, lost about 380K. Interestingly, he had won 300K on Wednesday and 80K on Monday. So it was like last week never happened other than the fact that they played about 2,000 hands. But yeah, last week, I think Negreanu ended up maybe 10 blinds at the most or so over the whole week last week. But he's obviously going to be really happy about that, considering he was down about 380 going into Friday.
Oh my god, Doug was down 200K and he's up so much. Like, hasn't anyone just watched the first week and then had a coma?
Yeah. Haven't seen any of those. Doug's going to win that one on the right with top pair, the toppest of pairs. The Kosan asks, Mike, what was the highest stakes you ever played heads up? Could have been once versus a whale. As we see Daniel check raise on the left and Doug limp on the right. Daniel's check raise gets through. I played a 5K heads up sit and go once against a fish who I was playing at 1K heads up sit and goes, and then he said, you want to play a 5K? To which I said, yes. I did win. Won 9K from that fish in an hour or so. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
I've also played maybe 50 hands of $25, $50 heads up cash against someone who I thought was a fairly weak regular, but they sat out after those. It probably wasn't even 50 hands. It was probably 20 hands. It was really brief. I think I lost like 7 blinds.
Frankie B NYC says, does it annoy you that there are multiple streams covering this challenge? No, as long as Frankie B NYC is in our stream.
That's right. Doug gets paid off on the left with top pair.
So back losing 10 buy-ins to a guy with a sausage in his hand. Is anyone else finding it a bit weird how often Daniel is talking about his own sausage? Because I find it weird, and then also the vegan thing makes the sausage thing even weirder to me.
Yeah, that's something I noticed. He describes the sausage as a meaty sausage. Kind of, to my mind, when he says meaty sausage, he's implying. By the way, apologies to all the parents with kids in the room out there. The meaty, it feels like it's a positive. As we see, Daniel check raise the right pretty big on this 8-7-5 very coordinated board. He says meaty, an adjective that seems to be a positive trait. Yet he is a vegan, so it kind of I'm having trouble reconciling. You know, Daniel's a vegan, meat therefore meat bad, but meaty, good in this other context. So that's something that's just been on my mind a lot recently.
It's gotten so weird.
You know that meme where it's a small domino and the dominoes get bigger and bigger until it's a big domino, and the whole point is it's supposed to be like a butterfly effect meme, so you pick one thing and that's the small domino, and then that sets off a big domino. I think one of them would be like Daniel says he could beat 2550 online. That's the small one, which he said in 2014, and that was sort of the origin of the Doug Daniel feud. And then the biggest domino is just meaty sausage.
Like that's how it happened. Just
Poker
ended
World.
up with
Poker World. What's the word here? Poker World stormed by meaty sausage story.
Yep, Spicy Squiddy is with us. Spicy Squiddy is with us on the completely strange behavior post session. The Daniel interviews are very weird, but you know, whatever. I'm watching them, so if that's the goal, he's accomplishing it. People are watching them.
We still got Crab in the chat, by the way. Crab, what are your thoughts on this limping strategy? What do you think's going through Doug's mind if you had to take a guess at it? People are going to keep asking me, so I might as well say what you think instead of what I think for the rest of the day if you're still here. As we see Doug drag a 5-blind pot with the king high.
Do you mind if I run and get a drink while they're on a break? And one other thing, could you please tell them about the new course available on Upswing Poker?
It's actually not available yet, JB, but thank you so much for bringing it up. The PLO Launchpad coming to Upswing Poker on February 8th. PLO Launchpad is going to be a 5+ hour lifetime access course meant for beginners and intermediates in the game of PLO. So if you've ever wanted to get into that crazy 4-card game, very lucrative game, probably more lucrative than No Limit Hold'em, if you're good at it, that is. So if you want to hop into that game, this is going to be a great opportunity to get good at it fast. Comes out February 8th. It's going to come with a pretty amazing deal. You're going to get the PLO Matrix for $1 if you get the PLO Launchpad during launch week. Coached by Dylan Weissman, great PLO player and streamer. I've seen some of the content. It's really good. I'm a PLO noob, and I understood it, so it's a very good sign. All right, guys, let's break out another question. So earlier I asked you guys, what hand have you lost the most money with? Now I'm going to ask you this, much more positive question. It's a positive stream today. We're going to roll with the positivity. #positivity, just like Phil Hellmuth. What's the hand you have won the most money with in poker? What hand have you won the most money with? Daniel is back. Doug's on a couple buttons. Let's see how many of these buttons he limps. Neither. He raises both in his normal 960 size. Any suited connector, Morbed96 says, is the biggest winning hand. That's... I like to hear it. So Krabichow did weigh in on the limping, as we see a 3-bet from DNegs on the left. And he suspects what is probably the opposite of what most people suspected. I'm quoting Crab here. Not sure how he's using it yet, but I do not think it's for the purpose of reducing variance at first glance. Limping heads up is good. It just takes time to learn. So yeah, great point from Crab there. As I was saying earlier, when someone asked about the different raise sizes to accompany a limping strategy and how multiple can be good, just like that, multiple strategies on the button can be good. You know, only raising or folding can be good. Limping, raising, and folding could be good. Raising to 2.5x can be good. Raising to 2.25x can be good, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty easy to imagine that, you know, Doug is going to benefit from this limping strategy because Daniel hasn't studied it quite as much. So that's very possible. That seems to sort of be... Well, that's not what Crab said exactly, but Crab weighed in and said, just because you missed it, I'll read it to you again. Forgive me, chat, for hearing this again. So Crab does not think it's for the purpose of reducing variance. Limping heads up is good. It just takes time to learn. And he said one more thing. God, chat moves so fast sometimes. If he's using a solve, it's probably 40 to 50% limp and way less folding. That's a great point from Crab there. When you implement a limping strategy, really in any game, but we're talking about heads up specifically, when you implement a limping strategy, that actually allows you to play more hands pre-flop. So pulling numbers out of thin air here, just as an example, Doug might have been raising 85% of his buttons before and folding 15%. Now maybe he's playing 90 to 95% of his buttons, but a good chunk of those hands are being limped. That's one benefit of implementing a limping strategy is you get to play more hands because you're risking less. Pretty simple. As we see Doug put in the overbet on the right.
This challenge, we should also implement an ante so that there's never any folding ever.
Overbet from Doug, unsuccessful. As Daniel picks him off. Pocket queens. Sorry, I think that was a joke cadence, but I did not hear it. Was that a joke cadence?
It wasn't very good. Not worth repeating, but you're starting to detect it well.
Yeah, I got it. Well, I'll start to catch up.
It's also nice having Dominic and K-Rab in the chat. We actually get answers instead of just having to speculate about a bunch of things.
Yeah, it's nice. Got some people who have ran really infinitely more sims than I have. Infinitely more. All in from Daniel. It's gonna be whoa. That's a 3-5 with pocket threes, and he's gonna win.
No.
Daniel picking up a flip with the pocket threes. Pretty loose hand to 3-bet and then 5-bet all in with, for sure. Especially when you're playing against an opponent.
He shows when he 3-5 pocket threes against Jacks, one of the streams I commentated as well.
Yeah, we've seen him 3-5 threes a couple times now. It's definitely something that should not be done often, if at all. I would imagine it's... I know Dominic would probably say... Dominic Niche in the chat would probably say mixing in the minus EV play. Oh, now he says increase variance in all caps. So maybe it was that. Just trying to increase variance. So for those who just missed it, on the right-hand table, Daniel 3-bet with pocket threes. Doug 4-bet with the ace-king offsuit. Daniel shoved it in with the pocket threes. Doug, of course, called with ace-king, and Daniel won the flip. Kind of a dirty way. Ace and a 3 on the flop. UL for Doug. Or was it lucky? Who knows? Oh, and we see our first limp 3-bet on the left. So this is Doug limping on the button, facing a 4x raise from Daniel, and then he's making it 5,600 to go. So that answers our question for how big he would make it. Does get called. We get the 4-3-2 flop.
And I love crocodiles. You got us there. He said, would you say this if Doug had threes? No. Whatever Doug does is right. Whatever Daniel does is wrong. You're on the upswing stream, so those are the rules.
In all seriousness, just because we've seen that so much, I've said when Daniel makes a good play, I say it's good. I would not have... your question, would I be saying the same thing if Doug 3-5 the threes? Yes, but it's a moot question because Doug would never 3-bet, 5-bet all in with threes. So that sort of should answer your question, I think. 17K in the middle on the left. Interesting pot here. This is the first pot where we've seen Doug limp and then 3-bet pre-flop versus a raise. Daniel goes for the block size on the river, 5K into 17. Doug raises the right. Daniel's block gets through on the left. He drags it. Zach Hill 19. Doug limped and then Daniel led the flop. Is that standard? It's something that happens more. So, as a lot of you probably know, you don't really lead into the pre-flop aggressor very often in poker in general, and Nolan Hold'em in general. But when your opponent limped the button, I believe leading into them is significantly more frequent. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm pretty sure. It's definitely not a faux pas like leading into the preflop aggressor in a single raise pot would be. My friend just messaged me, 15 minutes of reading this YouTube live chat and I want to kill myself. Don't know how you do it.
Well, we just want to kill ourselves.
Yeah, that's correct. Bit of a lull in the action here as we see Daniel drag a 2-blind pot on the left with a pair. Lokius81 says, considering how much he's hating playing, as he said in the last interview, is he just doing this because he is bored? I assume you're talking about Doug playing the challenge or limping. I'm not sure which thing you're referring to. If you're talking about playing the challenge, he's doing it to acquire money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main reason. If there was no money, he would not be doing it.
Yeah. It's nice to be a poker player where people don't ask, like, hey, why are you playing poker? You know, like when I'm at 2-5 or 5-10, people are like, hey, why are you doing this? You know, people play poker for money. It's a thing that we do.
Yeah, you might find the game fun, but no matter how fun you find it, you probably would play less if it wasn't for money.
Yeah. Although, I've been playing a lot of games for no money lately. I just keep playing these Zoom games and stuff, and it's really fun. And so maybe if poker was for no money, I would also be obsessed with it. K. Rabishel says, question for Doug, why is your limp strategy better than Sauce's? Spicy question. Doug tends to enjoy reminiscing about the Sauce challenge, so maybe we ask him that one.
All in from Daniel on the right. Big overbet, leveraging the fact that he's the only player who could have ace king here, as well as hands like pocket queens. Definitely going to be a tough spot with most of Doug's range, and he does elect to fold. Daniel getting some heat now. He won that flip for about 105K, 110K, and has started to pick up a couple other small pots as well. He's up about 50K on the session.
Now I know how Lappin feels when people make fun of his curtains, because my Smitty Bono is making fun of the comforter on my bed. Listen, guys. I'm at my childhood home. I'm streaming from my childhood bedroom. don't talk shit.
Jake Whitley says, you think he can just gaslight the whole chat poker community? He is slowing down to lock in his side bets. Yeah, bro, that was what I speculated early on. And then a player who's better than me in the chat said he doesn't think that's why. So I'm more so deferring to the better player. Let me know if that's okay with you. 3-bet from Doug on the left. Gerard Doherty, did you watch that last session? Was crazy, lol. I was in the booth, bro, and it sucked.
It had to be so painful to commentate. I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, the biggest problem is not even Doug. Well, Doug losing is the biggest problem, but the second biggest problem is chat devolves when Doug's getting. Well, really, when either player's getting whacked, chat really devolves into just attacking the player who's losing. They love to just pile on whoever's losing. Even when Daniel's getting whacked too, it's just about as unreadable, really, and like fast and toxic, etc. So yeah, it needs to be within like 200k, and then chat's in its sweet spot. But if it goes over 200k, chat just the trolls come out to play.
Chat and Doug very quickly when he's losing.
D-Nex takes down the pot on the left with a river bet.
Yo, Jay Farber, what is your deal? Jay Farber said he's putting his troll pants on, and he says, I'm here to pile on the commentators. What do we do to you? Is it because I won't accept your MMA challenge?
Bowie Effect says, the chat hive mind mentality is addicting. Very true. Fobetta says, would you say that Doug implemented a new limping strategy because his game wasn't working against D-Negs? So you're positing that he lost the Friday session and he said, you know what, this strategy is not working. I'm going to start limping. Perhaps. I would bet against it, though. Ooh, on the
Wait a second, though. Hold on a second. You told us in the beginning of the stream that you should take one small result and expound on it and make it very important in your life. Did you not?
You're making me eat my words. My
yeah.
mistake. My mistake. On the right, we have Daniel 4xing over one of Doug's limps and then betting on the flop. Doug called on the flop, and now we have about, what was that? About a half pot bet from Doug on the turn. See what Doug decides to do on the river when checked too. Doug does go for a 10k bet. Quick call. Doug's got a straight. That's a good hand. He's going to win that pot. 35k going his way. Argenta says, is the ace-king call all in standard against the 5-bet? Yeah, most certainly. You're not going to 4-bet and then fold with ace-king. That would be pretty crazy. Fobetta clarifying, I meant he thought he should be winning more, but he isn't, and that's why he's adjusting his strategy. It's tough to say, man. Really tough to say. I don't... Maybe that's... if I had to guess, that's maybe a small part of the calculus, because I imagine, let's say Doug's up 2 million right now, he probably wouldn't adjust his strategy too much, right? But that said, he would still be studying and learning new things, and perhaps he would still make some adjustments. Would it be such a grandiose adjustment as implementing a limping strategy? Not sure. I would say it's more so a strategy that he thinks is good for some reason, maybe specifically against Daniel, maybe not, and that's why he's implementing it. Why it's good, why he thinks it's good, hard to say. And we're going to ask him what he thinks about what's going through his head with regards to limping strategy when he joins us after play ends. But don't get your hopes up too much for that, because I do think it's very likely he gives us a bit of a deflecting answer. I don't think that's something he's going to want to reveal too much of, but maybe I'll be proven wrong. Ballisto, thank you for catching that. I did not notice it was a limped pot. On the left a moment ago, Doug showed down 7-3 off in a limped pot, as we see Doug drag a 20k pot with 9s. So yeah, that does check out with what you'd expect a limping strategy to be. So 7-3 off might have been a hand that made its way into Doug's folding range before, if he was only playing, say, 85% of hands. That seems quite close. It's probably right on the edge of that. But now that he's limping, he gets to play a few extra combos, basically, for each hand, and for each hand that wasn't pure. And maybe even gets to play some hands that he was pure folding before, and 7-3 off might be one of those. So, yeah. McPhilbo1 says, DNegs came out and said he's making a big change, just mashing buttons. Did he really say that? Could the limping be an adjustment to that? It could be, because this is lining up suspiciously with Daniel saying he's going to try to play a higher variant style in this match to try to make up the deficit. So perhaps that's part of Doug's calculus. Again, all we can do until Doug joins us at the end is speculate, and then maybe even after that, all we can do is speculate if he doesn't tell us anything. Arsenal 10-155, has Doug folded a button yet? I don't know. I don't think I've caught him fold a button yet, but I'm not sure.
I think he did. Not 100%. I remember $600 going DNegs way, so he must have folded at least one.
Someone on Twitter
Oh yeah,
just DM'd me. Has Doug changed his opening strategy so he can beat Daniel's limp sausage? Shout out to Dave Nexus on Twitter. That's brilliant stuff.
Jay Farber, so aggressive. What are you doing, dude?
Wow, the heat's on in our house and it is getting a little too hot. We're getting reports that DNegs channel is pissed. They claim that Doug is just mailing it in so he can win his side bets.
Wait, what?
Just with 6,000 hands left.
Yeah.
Do not think that is super likely.
Oh man, it's always the chats that I can't read that are my favorite ones. My God. I think for the last stream we should just read all the dirty chats and nothing else. What do you think?
Oh, yikes. It would get pretty rowdy, I'll tell you that.
It's great. Smitty Bono wants a tour of my childhood home. Yeah, sure. Let's say if Doug wins a 300k pot, not only will Brady cut off his sleeves, but I will give you the full tour of the home I grew up in.
Doug with a 3-bet on the right. Does get through. Doug raises on the right, which is no longer a given since he's limping. Ace 9, 8, 2 clubs.
Forgot check if Doug's been on Twitter today. Has Doug been live tweeting this question?
I didn't see anything.
All right, let's see. I wish there was just a tweet that's like, I'm about to limp. Yeah, no. He just said, big strategy change incoming today. Here we go.
DNeg's lead on the right, takes it down on the board pairing turn. Nice efficient bet for DNeg's there, just risking 400 to win 2,700 and taking it down. Got another tweet at me. A lot of questions about the limping strategy today. I'm doing my best to speculate for you guys. I know you just want me to speculate away. And I'll do one more time. I'm going to try to cut down from here because we've really covered the limps quite a bit. And we got Kevin Rabichow's opinion on it. So hard to add much more than that. Question from Cameron B on Twitter. Is it, as we see Daniel 3-bet on the right, is it possible Doug has been working on the limping strat and planned to start using it at some point, not just because limping is good and heads up, but also because Daniel won't know how to adjust to it sneak attack style? It's a good question, whether he's, sort of had this in his back pocket the whole time. I bet he's been at least somewhat aware of it, but he did tweet the other day, as we see Doug 4-bet on the right. Did I just say that? Whatever. Daniel does call. He did tweet the other day that he was going deep into the lab. That was over the weekend. So it's very possible he studied up on this strategy over the weekend, though maybe was aware of it or had an inkling that he wanted to do it before. If I had to guess, he didn't have this in his back pocket like the whole time ready to go, though. I think this is something he decided to do recently, if I had to guess. Small c-bet from Doug does get called. Eight on the turn. Low middling board. Gonna hit more of Daniel's hands, I would say, but Doug's still gonna have the overall advantage with all the, powerful hands that are in his 4-betting range, like aces and kings. This 11K bet is gonna put Daniel in a pretty tough spot, unless he's got a 4 or something like that. Call does make sense. And a check makes sense there. Let's see if Doug decides to stick in the last 40 grand. 55K in the middle. If he does shove, Daniel's going to have to call 40K to win 95K. Good check back from Doug. Daniel with the rivered nut flush. Backdooring. A flush for that 55K pot. Nice hand for Daniel there. Certainly can't play it any different. Very lucky hand for Doug, though, if I do say so myself, for having not bet that river.
Says our sausage party. So we'll be calling it. Oh geez. Yeah, someone in chat was like, why do we care what K-Rab thinks? And Nice Linum 8 says, K-Rab is cool as fuck. Silent gangster, silently printing, also seems like genuinely nice bloke. I'll also add that he has a very sexy Instagram page of all foods he's made. And it's like plated very nicely. So if you're a foodie, it's a very nice Instagram. Might want to check it out.
Skills that kills in the chat. Doug just won 1.8 buy-ins checking that river.
The old Doug would have lost the extra 40K there, don't you think?
Well, depends what he had. Depends what he had.
I know.
I think the old Doug and the new Doug loses that 40K a good chunk of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Then again, Daniel does have 2 of the cards that I expect Doug to bluff with quite frequently. Like if Doug has ace of spades 5 or something like that, that would be a hand I'd expect Doug to, run it with, so he can't have that to bluff with. maybe like Jack of Spades ace could play the same way some of the time. So just by having the ace and Jack of Spades for his flush, I think Daniel blocks a lot of the hands that Doug's going to bluff with.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them. Doug's still going to find some bluffs there.
Pappy Van Winkle says, Jamie K, does this house have a resident puppy dog? Of course. Every house I've ever been to, lived in, or rented myself, we will always make sure that there are dogs. The only problem is that this dog is a loud dog, so she's outside of my room. Maybe at the end.
What do you do when you go to a hotel?
Just sad the whole time.
Just what?
I'm just sad the whole time. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, can you deliver a couple extra blankets and a dog to room 218, please?
That would be so nice.
Can you bring your house dog to room 218?
You just thought of a great business model.
A house dog, a hotel dog,
A hotel that has like adoptable dogs on call, so it's like good for the dogs as well.
Yeah. Good strat. Jimmy's in air saying Jamie Kerstetter is going to be the world's first dog sommelier. If anyone is going to be that, it's probably Jamie.
I've helped pair people with dogs before. Like a matchmaker for friends.
Including the great Norman Chad.
Yep. Right? Norman Chad's dog, Blue. I hooked him up with that dog. I had to tell some fibs to the Animal Foundation of Vegas that Norman Chad was basically the Kardashian of poker, that he was going to make promotional videos for their site and that they should give him the dog because they didn't want someone from outside of Nevada getting a dog from their site. But yeah, so Norm has Blue, which is my puppy's sister. And she's as misbehaved as my dog is, chews through a bunch of cushions and shoes and everything. So Norm got exactly what he deserved.
Jay Farber said the hotels with adoptable dogs is a thing already. That's
wow.
news to me.
It's a good idea. They have like cat cafes with the same kind of idea, where they'll just have a bunch of adoptable cats that will come sit on your lap or whatever, and you can get coffee and hang out. Seems cool. Oh, Zach Hill says, would Norman Chad ever commentate on this challenge? I feel like we should get him as a guest, at least for an hour or two. I feel like he would.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
Dave Rixton asks, Mike, are you still crushing poker? I don't know what you mean by still. I did play last night on my iPad, and I won 5 buy-ins. Ran real hot. So, in a way,
that was a good answer. I don't know what you mean by still.
Limp from Doug on the left. I believe Doug put in that flop bet on the left. Daniel called, 2K in the middle. So today's session has been pretty uneventful, not just because Doug has implemented a limping strategy, so naturally pots are going to be a little smaller, as we see Daniel drag that small showdown on the left with a pair of sixes. But yeah, it's been a pretty uneventful day. Doug did take an early 25 to 30K lead, kind of in typical Doug fashion, winning a few medium-sized pots with no showdown. But then it all came crashing down when his ace-king got all in pre against Daniel's threes, pocket threes versus ace-king. Classic flip. Daniel came out on top of that one, smashing the flop. Ace-3-6 or something along those lines. So that was about 110K pot. So, you know, that's basically what decided who's up this session. If Doug were to win that flip, he would be up about 30 right now. Instead, he's down 70. There's been a few other decent sized spots, but nothing over maybe 40K or so. Daniel did win 155K pot with a backdoor flush and a 4-bet pot a moment ago. So that was a pretty notable one too, where Daniel 3-bet pre-flop with ace-jack suited, called a 4-bet with ace-jack of spades. To be more specific, the flop was, I believe, 6-4-4 with 1 spade. He check called, very standard. Turn 8 of spades, giving him a flush draw. He check calls again, very standard. River 10 of spades, so it makes him his flush, and it goes check, check, unfortunately for Negreanu. But it was a 55K pot, so he's probably pretty happy about it. It's fine, Jimmy, you're good. Thank you. I'm dropping the links to the pet hotel.
I'm so happy they do that. It seems like a really good idea to pair with a shelter. Bet you can adopt out some good dogs that way.
Just drop the link in both chats. We got someone in chat hating on Jamie Kerstetter, and their name,
Jay Farber.
No. Get ready for this.
Okay.
Their name is
Jamie.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Some self-destructive
This is some
behavior.
Highlander. Yeah, this is some Highlander shit where it's like there can be only one. I see what you're doing there. It's okay. I mean, it's fine. There can be more than one Jamie, but if you're gonna be like this, I'll have to destroy you.
I already hit him from the channel because you can't talk shit on my co-hosts and expect to keep chatting just like it's normal. Unless it's funny. If it's funny, then all you. Random me things about the co-host though, that's how you get the snap ban hammer on this channel.
But then it really depends because that's how you get me to just read your posts. It's tough. It's hard, we have to keep balance, and you might win the flip and you get your post read, you might lose it and Brady just ban hammers you for life.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty fair though. Like if I could even tell you were trying to be funny, I won't ban you.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way.
Online Predator, thank you for the subscription on Twitch. By the
Online
way, guys,
Predator?
Yeah, Online Predator is his name. If you want some sweet emotes and you're over on Twitch, you could break out your dongers, which is very appropriate given what's been talked about around this challenge recently. Or if you want to drop the fold emote whenever Doug is bluffing, which he usually is, or if you want to bring out the cookie jars when someone gets caught bluffing, hit that sub button on Twitch, or just hit the follow button on Twitch, get notified when these streams go live. We still probably got a good dozen of these things left to finish the last 6,000 hands. And on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to Doug's channel. Get updated when this challenge goes live or when Doug posts highlight videos about the challenge. We should have a decent amount of those coming out soon. We might actually put them out on the Upswing Poker channel, so you might want to subscribe to Upswing Poker on YouTube as well. But there's a chance we'll put them on Doug's channel.
Jay Farber, stop it.
Eric Linderer says, is Doug c-betting in almost all the limped pots? Haven't paid too much attention, but the few I've seen seem so. No, he definitely has checked back some limped pots. For sure. Not c-betting every time. An anonymous grifter gave Harry Anus Bukkake a tier 1 sub. Shout out to the anonymous grifter who gave him that sub.
Oh my god.
That was so appropriate. The fact that it said anonymous grifter.
Something else. I have to answer this.
Daniel raised the turn lead on the right. Doug led on the board pairing turn card after calling a c-bet. Daniel raised. Now we get the 6 of diamonds river. Pretty big brick. Let's see what Daniel decides to do. He 3-bet on the left a moment ago. That one gets through. Overbet from Daniel on the right. 14K to 9.
Somebody in chat asked to see my yearbook, and I literally think it's like at my feet.
Amazing.
Being home is so weird. There's just so much random things. Oh, look, I have American Bar Association. So
Oh,
fancy.
congrats on being a lawyer.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot to me.
Dug deep in the tank here. Likely thinking between a call and a fold. Oh, that's so funny. I said anonymous grifter, but it was anonymous gifter. I was so confused why Twitch used that. I was like, wow, that's an
Yeah.
interesting choice from the Twitch devs. Just someone gives a gift and then the Twitch software is
Yeah.
just like, you're a grifter. Maybe it was just the name the screen name I was about to read that made me automatically be like, grifter. Goes a lot more with
Great.
that name.
I didn't really think about that you should make a ridiculous Twitch name because when you like or you donate or whatever, people kind of feel obligated to read your name. Well played.
Right.
Chat vegan fake sausage. Here's my takeaway from being vegan for a year. The food that is the fakest anyway, like hot dogs and I would say sausage and stuff like that, where there's a lot of filler and weird stuff. The vegan versions actually taste pretty good because it's also a bunch of filler and weird stuff that's not real. Give it a shot.
Yeah, that makes sense. $8K in the middle on the right after Doug or Daniel 3-bet. Doug does put in a small bet. Takes it down. Mike, talk about if a player is trying to play for stacks often, what would you do? I'll talk about that in a sec. We have a 3-bet pot on the right. Doug's going to go for an extremely small bet. 10th pot, $821 into $8,217.
New
Gets
stuff, he said.
What was that?
He said he was trying out some new things. He wasn't lying.
Indeed. Speaking of not new things, Daniel going for a 4-bet on the left, his usual size. Doug folds. Doug checks over to Daniel on the right. Range is going to be relatively wide here for Daniel, considering he just had to call a 10th pot bet on the flop. He does check back. So that question, what was it again exactly? When someone's trying to play for stacks, what would you do? Well, I can't say I've ever found myself in the situation Doug is in, where I'm playing an X amount of hands challenge, and there is value in being up $1 at the end of the challenge and all that sort of thing. I certainly haven't dealt with that. So in this specific scenario, I don't really have much insight. I will say that if I'm playing in kind of the most common scenario I'm in that situation would be playing, a cash game, and there's just a player who seems to be trying to give away his stack or multiple stacks. The type of player who, someone opens to 3 blinds or something, maybe one person calls and then they just rip it in for like 75 blinds or something like that. We've all been at tables like this.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with those sorts of players, what you tend to do is play decently more protected against them. So you're going to be more passive with your strong hands. So, when they do go ape shit on you, you have something to call with. I mean, just to put it really, really quickly, it's kind of like you're playing what Daniel Negreanu would call small ball poker a lot against those people and kind of just waiting for them to make the mistake, giving them rope to hang themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have a great article on Upswing about that, though, about those kinds of games. I think that's the most common situation. People watching this will be facing off against someone who is trying to get their stack in. I don't think many people here are doing a 25,000 hand challenge with side bets. So if you're mostly dealing with just those splashy games where it seems like everyone's playing every hand and every pot is multi-way and it's just hard to get anything going for that reason, we get that question a lot, like, how do I win in those games? We have a great article about it. It's called How to Adjust Your Strategy in Splashy Live Games.
Mhm.
I'm going to drop that in the chat right now.
A couple of things just from playing a lot of live, like mid stakes. That happens way more often than it probably should. That someone just rolls in at like 1 a.m. and they're just drunk and they want to play like 3 buy-ins instantly.
Right.
One thing I would say is like just if you're just buying into a game like that, you can buy in shorter if you want, just so you're more comfortable getting it in with like a wider range of hands. Like knowing like pocket eights is going to be good against some crazy person. If you're sitting like 500 deep, or let's say like 800 deep at 510 rather than 2K deep, you could take advantage of that and like squeeze and just get it all in and know that you're like beating that person's range, where it's like really puke inducing when you have 2K and you're like, I don't know, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Depending on your bankroll, that's definitely true. If you can
Mhm.
comfortably take the 2K swing and get it in for with eights for 200 blinds, and that's fine for you,
Yeah.
then by all means do it. But obviously, that's not
At
going to be
some point,
everyone.
even the splashy people are like, oh, it's 2K, and maybe like all of a sudden eights are not doing that well when it's being 5 bet or something. But that's
Perhaps,
happened
yeah,
to me a
for sure.
lot. Like at Borgata, that used to be the thing. People would roll in the middle of the night, and you're like, oh my god, I'd get so nervous. I'm like, all right, I'm trying to squeak out a $500
Oh,
win. But
all
all of
in
a
from
sudden, you're
Doug here.
gambling.
All in for this is a $4,600 pot on the river. Doug bet 1,300, got raised to 8K. I think he bet 1,300. Might have been a little, yeah,
Yeah.
1,300. Raised to 8,600. Now Doug's all in for 37K total. Daniel's got to call about 29K to win 51K. On the right, Daniel's going to win with a straight versus Doug's 2 pair.
We've seen Doug do this a lot with most of the time. Any of his smaller river bets have been in deuces.
Yeah,
He's
we've seen that
either
a lot.
Yeah, I'd say at least like 4 or 5 times since I've on just streams I've commentated where I'm like, okay, we're seeing like the 1/3 or 1/4 pot size bet on the river, which is just a size I haven't really seen him use except to induce. Have you? I'm sure he does, or else it wouldn't make any sense. But
No, yeah, he's definitely mixed that in with a block, and he's been raised when he's made that bet before and folded. So
Mhm.
obviously he wasn't inducing in those spots. Yeah, we've definitely seen him block with a hand that clearly wants to block and not get raised, like a middle pair or something along those lines. But we definitely, like you said, seen a lot of instances of him breaking out that block size on the river, getting called, and then he has, just like the super nuts and kind of looks
Mhm.
silly because you only bet a third pot on the river and you could have won so much more. But he's obviously in an ideal world hoping to get raised, maybe hoping to get called by a hand that couldn't call a larger bet. It's definitely been a staple of his strategy, though. He's done that a lot.
Mhm.
Lyle
I want
Feeney
to.
on YouTube, real quick. Sorry, Lyle Feeney on YouTube.
No
Is there
problem.
a way to privately message Mike Brady? Yes, at mbradycf on Twitter.
Mhm.
Hit me up there. Sorry to interrupt, Jamie.
Oh no, no problem. I was just addressing. There's a very live vegan argument going on Twitch right now. The one thing I would say is that the things that are like pure, like if you were trying to replace chicken with some kind of vegan meat, I feel like the replacements kind of suck. If you're trying to replace something like that's gross, like a hot dog, the replacements are very good because hot dogs are kind of gross and they have fillers and weird stuff. So then when they try to make the vegan version, it's all a bunch of weird fake stuff too. So it's the same. But there's literally like a whole like on Twitch, there's a whole conversation going. But I
Classic.
have I have a year of experience plus some. I stayed vegan for a while, but after that, but I have a lot of opinions. I'll stop sharing them on a poker stream though.
Have you seen The Sacred Cow by chance? Or Sacred Cow?
No, dude, documentaries like this depress me.
It's a
I was
well.
like, I already have these like strong feelings.
This is not a depressing one. This is the opposite of a
Okay.
depressing one. I came away much happier from this one. It's basically about regenerative farming
Mhm.
and how it's just significantly more sustainable and amazing, and the meat tastes better and all that, better for the earth, all that. Really good documentary. It is
That's cool.
basically the antithesis to whatever that vegan documentary is that got popular. This is
Knife
the
over what is it called? A
I don't
fork over knife or something like that? I know what
I
you're
don't
talking about. Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but this is from what I know of that one, this is basically the opposite, where it's more
Okay.
this is how meat can be eaten in a way that isn't destructive or isn't as destructive, etc. Enough on that, though. That is quite off topic, as we see Daniel. We see Daniel check raise on the left table versus Doug's 40% pot c-bet, and then Doug 3-bets versus the check raise to about, I believe, 6k. Got called, and the turn goes check, check on the flush completer. King on the river, though. That's a pretty interesting run out. Could see some sick coolers here, like a flush versus a boat, things like that. Though I would expect Doug to bet quite a lot with 2 pairs and sets on the turn. Perhaps he would check some of them. And Daniel's going to win that one with a pair of 6s. Nice turn for him there. Take that one down.
Man, all I want to do is respond to all the stuff people are saying in chat, but poker is what we're here for today.
Yeah, if you
it's
get
so
them
frustrating. I know it's so much more about this other stuff.
If you get them off topic, they will just hammer that. There was the one session you were commentating with Olivier Bousquet, and the chat, a few people asked him questions, like personal questions, and he answered like 1 or 2 of them, and it just caused the waterfall of like, what hair product do you use?
I know.
What's your dog's name? Just like, it's seriously
it was
not
so
quitting.
Funny too. Go ahead. I was gonna say. The only thing I was gonna say is they asked every question, he answered every question, and then like every 10th chat was like, why does he keep talking about himself?
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, you're asking him questions.
I know, it's so sad. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. It's not important.
Sorry. I will say though, like reading the chats that people are having this vegan discussion, it's interesting stuff. It's not like a bunch of trolling. That's why I wanted to engage. Got D-Negs taking down Tiny Pot with Trick Jacks.
18k pot on the right. This is a 3-bet pot where Daniel c-bet 5k into 8k on the flop. And he's going to go for 6k into 18k. It's that third pot bet we see a lot for the in-position player after calling a 3-bet and then calling a flop bet. The in-position player has, shown in a couple of instances that he has a hand. He called the 3-bet pre-flop and then called the flop. So he's saying, I have a pair, I have a flush draw, whatever. Daniel, on the other hand, as the 3-better, has 3-bet and bet the flop, but then checked the turn. So that sort of indicates that he could be giving up. So you see a lot of small betting as the in-position player there, even on dynamic boards such as this one. Not saying bigger bet sizes don't have their place in those spots too sometimes, but you just see a lot of the small betting. And now Doug's got about 30k behind with 31 in the middle. He's all in. Not a quick decision for Daniel. Seems like a lot as we see Doug 2x pot the river on the left. A lot of these spots we've seen Daniel make snap decisions, and when it's vice versa, Doug tends to go into the tank. This is the first time in a bit I've seen Daniel in the tank for more than like a few seconds,
That's an interesting line too. So when he's betting so small on the turn in position, a lot of the times in tournaments when I see that, I think, okay, this person is just trying to buy a check on the river from their opponent. But could that be a situation where he has like a pair and a flush draw or something like that? Or what do you think his range looks like when he's betting so small?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a range that is just, oh, I have, this medium to small pair that wants to try to get the free showdown or just deny equity, take down the pot right now. Those are going to be in there, and those are the hands that perhaps benefit the most from that size, but that they have to be accompanied by strong hands, obviously, right? Otherwise, he's extremely exploitable, and that's not Doug's style. So I would expect Doug to have some very strong hands there, some, straights and stuff like that, especially with that stack to pot ratio. I mean, he put that 6k bet in and then still had less than a pot size bet left on the river. So even his strong hands are fine betting that small. But yeah, I would expect it to be a combination of quite strong hands that, you know, are happy to call off a shove, some hands that are happy to take it down there, deny some equity, maybe get a little bit of value, like a pocket seven, something like that, or in some cases a bluff that doesn't mind having to fold to a check shove. And that second part of that is key, because you don't want to bluff with a hand like, let's say, a middling flush draw that if you get shoved on, it's like, oh damn, now I have to either fold my flush draw in 2 overs probably, or call off with just jack high or whatever it is. So you generally would probably bluff with a hand that's like a gut shot straight draw with overs that you don't really mind having to fold if he does shove. As we see Daniel pick up that pot on the right, besting Doug's nines. We do see Daniel just calling the ace-5 offsuit pre-flop in that last hand. Pretty unlucky turn for Doug there. Daniel just had 3 outs to make top pair, and he found a way to do it, though he did that backdoor flush draw too. All right, guys, you want to stop talking about what you're talking about in the chat? You want to stop? What do you guys want to talk about instead? How about this? Do you guys have a favorite? Here, I got a question for you, chat. It's question time with chat. What is your favorite? who is your favorite poker player? Drop your answer in the chat now. Favorite poker player? Is it Doug Polk? Is it Dan Negreanu? Is it, I don't know, Jamie Kerstetter?
Probably not.
Is it
Nick
Sam
Schulman?
Is it Sam Grizzle?
Oh. Who else you got? Who's your favorite poker player? I don't even know if I have an answer for mine.
My answer. Oh, R.I.P. to Sam Grizzle, by the way. I didn't know he died. You reacted like that, and I did. Yeah, my bad on that one. All right.
It could be someone's favorite player.
My favorite player is Daniel Strelitz. Did you hear that, or were you out? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was trying to charge one of my earbuds at a time so that it never goes dead.
Thing?
Yeah, except the one didn't charge. So maybe it's not a thing. But go on.
Yeah, I just said my favorite player is Daniel Strelitz. That's been my answer for a few years.
Why?
I think it's a funny. I think it's a good answer. Seems like a nice guy.
Okay.
I don't even think I've met him. We've maybe been at the table once.
Okay. Deoxy is a very nice guy.
His dad's into poker. I love that. That's like one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Okay, it's way more reasonable for you to say Deoxy dad is your favorite.
No. Because Deoxy dad is a part of Deoxyribo. So.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think his dad's pretty cool. I think Deoxy's all right. You know, his dad's much cooler.
Small pot going the way of Doug on the right. We got some people dropping their favorite player. Let's see what we got. Barry Greenstein. That's a good one. I read that was the first, I think, poker book I read was Ace on the River. Loved it. Mike Fold turned top pair Postle.
Very nice.
Jamie Gold, biggest WSOP main event winner. Good one. Stu Unger.
What do I have? Jungle Man's a good pick just because he's like a freaking alien. Galfon's a pretty good pick. If you want like wholesome, it's Galfon. If you want an alien crazy person, Jungle Man. There's some creative people like Brandon Shack Harris has tried to implement certain things. Like he thinks the plexiglass you should check by tapping a chip on the glass.
That's brilliant.
But then the thing that I thought, like, this is when I was like, this dude's onto something. When he said he's trying to implement the wink check, so the dealer would look at him and he'd be like, and they'd be like, what does that mean? And he's like, and then they move to the next person. He's like, oh my god, wink check.
Hold that thought for a sec. We got a juicy pot brewing on the right. Daniel 3-betting pre, betting the flop, betting the turn, and shoving the river. Doug again with a decision and a fairly quick fold. Daniel drags a 33k pot there. By the way, shout out to Deoxyribo in chat. He is here. That worked out brilliantly. Did not know you were going to be here.
Wow, look at that. Wow. He must be so happy. What does it say? Malta3 says love some Burberry. Yes, Melissa Burr, a character for sure. She's great. She's another New Jersey girl. We've had some extremely funny interactions in like sleepover parties and stuff. She's a nutcase. What?
Pizza Party XD. God's chosen poker player, Jerry Yang.
No, but there was the one. Oh man, who was his opponent? Do you remember this?
Lee Watkinson and his wife.
Lee Watkinson and his wife. They were trying to pray harder than Jerry Yang so that they would get their river card and Jerry Yang would not get his river card. So they were both appealing to baby Jesus, like, please, please, like, show me your power and like let me see that. But look it up, guys. Like, watch this on YouTube. It is the most batshit crazy thing you'll see in your life.
It's crazy. One of the craziest poker hands ever. It's just like an all-in pre, and one side is praying loudly, and the other side is praying loudly. I think Norman Chad says it's a holy war or something like that.
Oh my god.
So good.
Friendly Chef's favorite poker player, easily Ryan DePaulo. Ryan DePaulo has he won me over. I didn't know if I was gonna like him, and I didn't know very much about him. He came on my podcast, and I was dying laughing like 90% of the podcast. The dude has no filter. He's very, very funny.
The Bill Heizang, what hand is the praying hand? I'm not sure, man, but Lee Watkinson gets like 7th in that thing, so it's going to be early in the final table. And I think Lee Watkinson has ace-8, and Jerry Yang definitely has him dominated, but I don't remember with what. Maybe ace-10, something like that.
If you YouTube Lee Watkinson, Jerry Yang praying, it has to come up. It's so good.
That was a great year of WSOP action. On PokerTube, the video is called Power of Prayer.
Power of Prayer.
PokerTube doesn't work anymore these days, though. They seem to have gotten torched. Who would have known? Just PokerTube? It's just, who would have thought that that just taking poker content that other people own and putting it on your site would not be a sustainable model for content?
It was ridiculous. They would like patch up Anna Kate, who's now like, I don't know, another holy warrior, and also steal content and just recycle it. Like if David Lapid like wrote an upswing article, it would just be like YouTube or what it was called, PokerTube features David Lapid's upswing article. You're like, what?
Makes no sense, but whatever. It's the internet, wild, wild west.
Yes.
Bit of a lull in the action, ladies and gents. Forgive the off-topic discussion. I know how some of you can't stand that. Oh, it's so hard to hear us talk about sausage and poker players and Jamie being in New Jersey. It's just stuff. It needs to be more relevant. More relevant.
Yeah.
I got you. Daniel bets, and on the left we have Daniel with a $400 bet, and he takes it down. All right, let's move on to the next hand. Both players post their blinds.
Sick Goon 42 says, "Get Gazzy B on the podcast because we were good together." Gazzy was, no offense, Brady, because we've commentated together a bunch. So like by now I'm like, I know I like commentating with you. Gazzy, I was nervous about because I didn't know him at all, and I felt like we became little best friends. So yeah, I would love to have Gazzy on the podcast. It's a great idea. Also, he came out of nowhere. I'm sure he streams on Twitch. So like Twitch will know him. But as far as I live on Twitter, and he was not really on Twitter, so I'm just like, who is this dude?
He had 89 followers going into this. He hit me up with 89 followers and was like, "Hey, can I commentate?"
Yeah.
But luckily,
do you know he hit me up too, and I ignored it because I didn't even know. I must have like read his DM. Like I do respond to people's DMs, but I saw it and I just didn't respond to it, and I like vaguely remember seeing it. And then as we like get along, I messaged him. I was like, "Oh, that was really fun today." And I see his very nice post, which was like, "I would like to commentate." And I'm like, "Well, I'm an asshole."
Amazing. Oh, so he commentated, or he replied on Twitter commentating about commentating this match to you.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
And I ignored him, and I really don't do that. And I just was like, wow, that's an inopportune person to not respond to. And then you do a 5-hour co-hosting together.
No kidding. Yeah, he makes it easy though. He's great to work with. The GOAT.
He's just very excitable. He loves poker and he has like a lot of good stories and stuff. And he can take a joke. Like I made fun of him a lot for not knowing him at all. He's
Yeah,
good
it's
for it.
perfect. He's good with that.
Mhm.
Nice linem 8 with a little bit of a rap. I'll try to rap it. I'm not gonna try to rap it. I'm just gonna say it. Gazzy on mic, get to know fam. Look at your girlfriend. She wears a fake tan. Thanks for the input. Three bet pot on the right. Doug is the 3-better.
I would pick, yeah, Pappy asked me if I could have one person from Twitch chat on my pod, who would it be? And Jay Farber says, come on, that's such an obvious answer. I would have Jay Farber on, but I'm just going to pick on you the whole time to finally retaliate for this horrible chat.
Doug's half pot c-bet and a 3-bet pot on the right got called, and Daniel's pot-sized double barrel on the left got called. A couple nice sized pots here. Daniel's going to go for pot on the river, 10,000 into 10,000 on the left. And Doug is double barreling himself on the right, 10k into 16 gets called. 36k in the middle over there now. As Doug waits on the left, decides to fold. Daniel drags 10k there. And with 22k behind, Doug has a decision. Stick it in or check. See if he's going to put Daniel to the test. He does. Daniel, again, no snap call. I'm seriously so used to Daniel having snap decisions that this is so weird to me that he's tanked twice in a row versus these spots. Seems like Daniel's so constantly just snapping this off Jack 10 or snap folding, whatever he had, 9-8 or whatever hand would be a snap fold. But today he's been in some tougher spots. He does call with ace 10, probably can't fold that one. Doug, with the turned top pair, is going to get the double there. Drags an 80k pot, and Daniel sits out right at that moment. We don't see the dots from Daniel, so it's not likely. Oh, wow.
Oh, 2 dots. Wow, end of session this early. Wow.
Wow, Daniel drops the ... in chat twice. Looks like he is done for the day.
2-hour session? He's over it.
Now, I have a chat. Tell me what you guys think of this guess. I think there's a good chance Daniel decided to quit this early today because he saw Doug doing his limping strategy, as we see Daniel get paid off on the last hand on the left. He saw Doug implementing this limping strategy, may have thought, wow, I don't know exactly how to play against this limping strategy. Maybe I should quit this session a little earlier and then work on my game against limpers. That would make a lot of sense to me. In this situation, if I were Daniel, I think I would likely do that.
I think that's too crazy at all.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Mike McDonald does agree, 100%. That's a good sign. Doug takes down the last pot of the day on the left with a check raise. All right, guys, much quicker than usual, but that's all the poker we've got for you today. Last week just had so much.
The Doug interview, right?
We still do have a Doug interview coming up.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be joining us shortly. It'll be much lighter out than it usually is during that interview, so I'll have a little more pep in my voice than usual. It's a little bit tough to conjure the energy in those like 7:30 p.m. interviews when I've been going for 5 hours.
Yeah, I feel you. The one time with Gazzy too, it's like 3 a.m. plus where he was.
Right.
And I was like, okay, Doug's coming on for the interview. And he's like, what?
Amazing. LCG, but then wouldn't every session end early to adjust for unforeseen adjustments? Perhaps, but it's the degree of the adjustment that matters. So, if Daniel sees Doug is starting to use a 40% size in a certain spot, and before he was using a 30% size, that's a pretty minute change. It's not going to be something that it's going to be worth quitting a session over to study. But when you have your opponent going from raising 85% of buttons or so to raising some amount of buttons and limping other buttons, that's quite a drastic change to what the game tree looks like. It's just basically an extremely different game when you're playing against someone who's limping. So, he's got a lot of stuff to study. He's probably not familiar with how to play against basically all the tough stuff. It's hard to know what hands you're supposed to 4x over the limp and at what frequency. It's hard to know what to do against the 3-bet when you do that 4x and they 3-bet over you. Because normally in heads up, when you face a 3-bet, you are doing so in position. So you get to call in position or fold or 4-bet, whatever. But in this situation, you're facing a 3-bet out of position. So that's something you have to study. Maybe he's not familiar with studying, playing those limped pots when he checks preflop. So it's just 800 in the middle, how to sort of approach those really small pots, things of that nature. It's just a very drastic difference compared to other adjustments that someone might make. So guys, if you are just tuning in or didn't see what just happened, Doug won a stack on the right. Daniel immediately sat out on the right table, then played 2 more hands on the left and called it a day. He is going to book this 40K win or so, mainly on the back of a pretty sick flip towards the middle of the session when he 3-bet pocket 3s. Doug 4-bet with ace king, Daniel 5-bet all in with the pocket 3s, and Doug, of course, called with ace king, and Daniel won that flip. So that was one. Basically the main thing, if the main factor of the session, if Doug were to have won that flip, he'd be up 60K right now. Instead, he didn't, so he's down 40. That's how flips work. So guys, let's get your questions in for Doug. I literally only have one question. It's very predictable. Yo, Doug, what's up with these limps?
Also my question.
What was your question again? I'm sorry.
I said same exact thing. Yo, Doug, what up with these limps?
Ah, okay. Dinger 56412 black screen. Wait, it's over. Yes, it is. Daniel has decided to hang up the hoodie today. We are just waiting for Doug to join us for a quick chat. I'm not going to ask Doug about vegan sausage substitutes. He's not going to have very many opinions on that one.
I got you guys covered there. Impossible sausage. There you go.
Neil Aradu. Is that a real quote from Daniel? I've been playing poker for 20 years and can't handle someone who starts limping preflop and heads up. Oof.
What?
A little too easy to get under that guy's skin, isn't it?
It's so easy.
Like you just have to limp a button and he's like,
yeah,
so
or you just have to like write jokes for YouTube videos and he's your enemy forever. That also happens.
Oh, what are you gonna do? Oh, not a real quote. Not a real quote. Not a real quote. Neil Arado.
Oh, you made it up. Okay.
You mother.
You.
No, in all seriousness, actually, I really appreciate that you immediately corrected me. That you said it wasn't a real quote, because I would hate to just push fake information out there. I should have known, because Daniel's not that good at technology that he could have gotten on an interview this fast and then been asked a question this fast. So I should have known.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gazzy B, Mike Brady sucks. Actual D-Negs quote. Yeah, if it came from anyone else, I would that would hurt my feelings.
Wow, yeah. What if D-Negs is like, actually, Mike Brady's a wonderful commentator and good person? You're like,
yeah, I would really prefer him to just not say anything about me the entire challenge. That's my ideal.
Oh man, I think Doug is coming. Let's go.
What's up, Dougie P?
What's up, guys? One sec. Let me get this squared away. Let me fix my webcam.
Just waiting for Doug to get his video working here, guys. Bear with us. And we'll get it up on the screen. We can see him now, but
how's
you guys
it going?
can't quite yet. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you? How you guys doing?
I'm all right. You got a fresh cut there?
Got a fresh home haircut.
Hell yeah. That looks like a home haircut. That looks like just the clippers with a 5 or whatever number, and then bzz. Good job, Caitlin.
Caitlin had been giving me some haircuts where she tried to style and texture, and what I realized was it started just to lean to one side pretty heavily. So I thought, how about we just go with the clean cut? We know the hair is even.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Way less faux hawk potential, though.
Very true. Luckily, no one's going to see me because I only do interviews 3 times a week on YouTube. Anyway.
So Brady's got an important question for you.
Well,
okay, what's up?
Before that, what was the total for today? The prox?
We lost 48. or something.
Ooh, and it's 4:48 p.m. That is pretty suspicious. Well, anyway,
I would say it's quite lucky.
it is lucky. Yeah, there was one hand where I thought you were extremely lucky today. It was the one where you had ace king and you flopped an ace. Do you remember that hand?
Mhm.
Yes, I
That
do
was
remember that hand.
super lucky. Like
We made two pair.
not only did you
Two
made two pair.
pair.
Not
A
only did you
river,
make
a river, two pair. A very lucky
Yeah.
river.
very lucky. Yeah, not only were you lucky enough to make two pair with ace king, you faced a 5-bet shove in that hand. So,
Mhm.
whew, the luck continues. Doug, very lucky
Crazy.
poke. Well, okay,
I-
so Doug, yeah, go on.
Alright.
Sorry. Okay,
Carry on.
the first question I got for you. It's the one that's. This is all we've talked about today, pretty much, other than sausage.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yo, Doug, what's up with these limps?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up with that? So, limping is, well, let me give you, there's two main reasons I'm limping. The first reason is limping is actually better than not limping. It's a better strategy. It's a more complicated strategy, but it does add some EV. That's a by far and away secondary reason, but it's something to consider.
Mhm.
And then the other aspect here is it decreases the standard deviation, I'm pretty sure. I
Mhm.
haven't managed to get good stats on that, but it stands to reason if you play smaller pots, there's less variance. It just
Mhm.
feels right to me. So we are trying to lower the variance because the issue is, let's say we lose 10 buy-ins in the next few K hands, then we end up in a really shitty situation. So it's a little bit of a we're playing prevent defense, trying to keep it in front. We can give some first downs, it's okay, but we're just trying to not let them score. We cannot have another minus 400K session. Those, it just would put this way too close. So we're going to go with a lower variance style. Now, I'm sure he's doing the opposite thing. He said that numerous times. Fuck it, let's go play high variance, whatever he's trying to do. So we're
Mhm.
going to just take it down a notch. We're going to limp in. We're going to play some very tiny pots. Someone's going to win or lose a few $100s. Let's keep this reasonable and let's lower that variance.
All right. Well, I have one
Yeah.
thing to say. I have one thing to say to that. Take that, Crab. You were wrong.
Yep. K-Rab's wrong. We're
Suck
right.
it,
We're the
Crab.
experts. K-Rab, heads up for rolls. Let's go.
What did K-Rab say?
Well, he was just speculating. We're giving him a hard time, but he said
Yeah.
he would think it's not to reduce variance, and it's more because limping is good, and for
Well,
one
yeah,
of the, for one of the many reasons that limping is
sure.
good.
No,
Well,
Doug.
that
Doug,
helps.
let us have this. Let us have this, please.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, that's actually the only reason.
Thank you.
It's just that.
Yeah.
To be fair, it being good is a prerequisite to doing it. You wouldn't do anything that lowered variance, but also lowered your EV.
Yeah.
So I mean, of course it's good. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Yeah. I didn't think today was going to go long. I assumed he'd want to quit early and go do some homework
Study.
on this.
Mhm.
But I do have to say it is just hilarious. The moment he gets stacked, let's out! Book the wing! Get out of here! The moment he gets stacked, it's over.
Yep.
Hang him up. Stop the momentum. Guys, it's really important in sports. It's all about momentum when you think about it, right? It's about momentum and keeping it going. So when you get stacked, it's a very good time to leave so you prevent that momentum. And actually, here's a good point. If I had done that, I would not have lost 400K on Friday.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
I should have stopped the momentum because then today I would have gotten different hands. That's how it works. Stop
Yeah.
the momentum.
Well, at least you're learning from your mistakes, right? For next time.
Am I? Have I quit a session yet? We really don't know if I'm learning from my mistakes or not.
What other
Yeah.
questions do we have? What do we got? Pocket threes versus ace king. They're just infinite big blinds from Daniel. What do you think about that hand?
Well, what he's doing is obviously bad. But what he's doing is he's doing it to increase variance because he wants to win. So he
Mhm.
is choosing to take negative EV spots in order to have more chance of winning the side bet, which makes sense. It's
Yep.
the inverse of what I'm doing with limping.
Now
Mhm.
that said, he 3-5'd pocket threes quite a bit earlier in this challenge to the before
Yeah.
he got into this desperation mode, if you will. Do you
Yeah.
think? I mean, that would just lead me to believe he's doing it at some frequency anyway.
Probably.
Does that?
He
Yeah.
might think I'm forbidding too much. He might like the removal effects of threes. I'm not sure, but
I was especially surprised to see it today because, like I said, we saw him 3-5 the pocket threes in an earlier session, but to do it today when you've started limping, the first thing that I would kind of think if I started facing someone who just implemented a limping strategy is, well, now all of a sudden they're raising on the button less, so I should be less likely to 3-5 pocket threes. Is that even the case, or am I conflating something?
Well, you're assuming that the raises are strong. So I don't think that is necessarily true. They're both balanced. So it doesn't actually change things as much as you'd think.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, you want to talk about some hands, and I'll gather questions from these fine folks in the chat. Get your questions in now, guys. Put question for Doug : in the chat, and then put your question. If it's good, I will write it down. Or tweet at me at mbradycf or Jamie at Jamie Kerstetter. Doug's going to go through the big hands for today, which there were probably only
Oh,
like
it's going to be a
6.
very short one.
Yeah, there were maybe
So
6.
we got you actually spoiled the big one. We got ace king versus threes and hit an ace and a king. Very lucky. Lost
Wow.
104k there, or 104k pot. Pretty lucky stuff. And then we had a hand where we 3-bet king jack. He suited. He called 10-6 deuce. We bet half pot. He called. Turn jack. We barreled. He called. River 3. We jammed and he called and had ace 10 and tanked river. Because I don't know why he would tank river. It's it's either because he thinks I'm not bluffing here, or it's because, well, we'll just leave it. We'll just leave it there. But anyway, yeah. So he calls and has ace 10. So that was a hand that happened. We had another hand where I opened ace 10. He 3-bet. I 4-bet. He called 6-4-4. He check called. Turn 8, king 2 flush draws. He checked. I bet 1/3 pot. He check called. River 10. So I river top, pair top kicker. And I considered going for value here, but I ultimately decided that you really need to have a spade in your hand to be able to do this, which ended up being very, very, very good logic because I checked back and he had ace jack of spades. So I'm thankful that we decided to check that. And I think without the spade, I think that the check makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, then we had another hand. We limp ace 4. He raises, we limp call. Queen 5 deuce. He bets 2/3 pot, we call. Turn 3, completing the flush, he checks, we bet half pot, he calls. River 3, pairing the board, check, we bet 2/3 pot, he calls, and has kings with a diamond. And very, very standard. Very standard line. He could bet turn, but if you check call, this is standard. That one didn't go to showdown. That one didn't go to showdown. We had a hand where I 4-bet ace king, bet flop, and check down, he had ace queen. There's a low board, nothing interesting there. Other table, I check call, check folded to a turn in a 4 pot, and then that's it. We didn't have any hands today, guys. There was no hands, which is good. That's exactly how I'd like to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
No hands, no money. Let's keep these pots nice and small.
Yep.
I'll see you on Wednesday.
You made one mistake. You got ace king that one hand, and that was a huge mistake. So
Very important, very good mistake. But it was lucky. Let's not get we're getting a little too carried away in some of the side stuff. Very, very lucky.
Well,
all right.
Since you're done with the hands, I got kind of an interesting question from a couple people asked this in different ways. So what they're basically asking is, about a week ago today, your lead was the same as it is now, right? So it was about 620k. Let's say this went the opposite way. So you didn't go from getting up to 1 million down to 620, say. You went from maybe 400k and you've had a couple wins and you're at 620 right now. Do you think you would have still implemented the limping strategy if you were sort of on the way up, or do you think you maybe even would have implemented it earlier, or what do you think?
Yeah, it's possible it would have been delayed a little bit, but I was planning on a transition here if it was close at some point. The question was always when, and this seems to be just about the right time to do it. So I'm not sure. I mean, our lead's probably only 570 or whatever now, but still reasonably solid. A little under 6k hands to go, and remains to be seen. But yeah, I think it would have been pretty soon either way.
That checks out for sure. Jamie, you got any questions while I'm perusing what these lovely people are saying?
Not really. Every question was just, "Yo, Doug, what up with the limping?"
That was essentially every question. Yeah.
Every question.
So
Plus,
many
we
questions
thought we
about
had
limping.
2 more hours. Usually, we pound them for questions at the end, but we didn't know it was going to be a 2-hour session today. Saw
I
the
had
dot
a,
dot dots. I was like, "What?" Yeah.
I have to say I think that when someone does something different, it's less likely the session goes on for a while. I think
Yeah,
it's
that
more
makes
likely
sense.
someone you stop and you want to try and prepare and stuff. So
Hmm.
that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. So, is that what you were doing all weekend? Was preparing this strategy, and now he has to kind of go to his team for 2 days and combat it?
No, I spent a good chunk of this weekend watching football. So
Okay.
but we did a little bit of prep. It was more work today. I spent all morning today, or most of this morning, just prepping these ranges and running sims and trying to understand it better. But yeah, I think it's a strategy that I might keep using, might not. I don't know.
Mhm.
I might. We'll see how this plays out. If I start to
Cool.
win a bunch, maybe I'll go back to raising only. But
Mhm.
if it's going well, maybe I'll keep it. We'll see.
Nice.
Fobetta on Twitch wants to know, you sort of answered this already with DNegs leaving early like you expected. Please ask Doug if DNegs reacted the way he would have thought against his new limping strategy.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Makes sense. He did some raising and then he quit early. That's about what you'd expect, right? What else?
Yeah, no, I think it was. Yeah, I would have expected this the way that it went down.
All right, I just got one more. Unless someone in the chat gets some good questions in quickly, you guys better hurry. Are you prepping for range adjustments at the end if things are super close? And if so, are there any spots you found interesting? That last one, I doubt he can share. But yeah, are you doing any studying on like how these late game spots might work, or are you just gonna cross that bridge when you come to it?
I'm just not willing to talk about this. I'm gonna have to draw the line somewhere. There's just int money on the side, and I'm not. Here's what I'm planning on doing. So.
I mean, you could always just lie. Why don't you just lie, Doug? Like,
because
come on.
Jamie, some of us are good people. Hypothetically, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. You could be like, look, this is where I start to 5x pre-flop. We've been talking about that. Just give him something to.
5x pre-flop.
100%. Yeah.
I saw Max Silver said you could start just open jamming, 100 big blind push fold. Could do that, right?
Of course he said that. He's like, I have a handy app you could use for knowing what the ranges are for jamming.
Does make sense.
Amazing. I got one. I just want to hear your reaction to this question.
Okay, go for it.
We hear this kind of a lot. They were never gonna play 25,000 hands. As soon as someone locked it up, it's over. What do you think about that? People essentially saying that someone's going to quit before 25,000 hands, and that's just a normal thing.
No, I think they're saying that they wouldn't, if someone got a lead, they would make sure to win.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what they're saying. They're not saying that it was not going to go the distance.
Well, we got plenty of people saying X person's gonna quit, blah blah blah, and people seem to be really they seem to be really tripped up by the fact that two people made an agreement to play a certain amount of hands, so you have to do that, and they seem to just be like, well, is it in writing? Well, maybe Daniel will just quit.
If Daniel wants to quit, I'm a big fan of that. Then I don't have to play any more poker. I win my side bets. This is over. So if Daniel wants to quit, I'm quite cool with that. Totally. We could stop right now. I could be completely done with this. But something tells me it's not going to go that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet.
Maybe is it because he said, "I'll play 100,000 hands. I'll play 500,000 hands."
Yeah, I was just getting anxiety listening to that.
Yeah.
Please no.
Yeah. You're like, I just want to play video games.
Somebody hold me. No, I don't. I just don't see a rematch after here on my end. I don't want to do it, and yeah. But hopefully, we can get some wins in. I'm not. Look, we're still playing for a lot of money, and so I'm not trying to lose EV, right? I'm trying to make changes that either are very close or gain EV, and limping gains EV. So if I can gain EV and lower variance, that's great. And that's obviously a win for me. So we'll.
Along those lines, here's a question for you. We'll end on this one. Would Doug pay down to a $1 winner to quit right now, so he wins the sides but doesn't keep the profit?
No, obviously not. This is a stupid question.
What's the line? Would it go? What about down to like 300K? So you'd lose 300K right now.
No, there's no, obviously not.
There you go, guys.
This,
Doug
the,
will not.
uh,
Doug,
al- al- also, these questions are they're just trying to figure out how much I've bet and stuff. They're just, you know
Yep.
what I'm saying? It's just, these are just dumb questions.
yeah, I guess that's a good point. That is very, very possibly what they're trying to figure out. Well, in any
Also,
case,
Anytime you fold, you just give up the money, and this is a lot of money, so I'm not
Right.
just gonna fold off hundreds of thousands of dollars.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Doug is not going to give up his EV that easily, guys.
Worked hard
All
for
right.
the TV.
Yeah, you worked hard for it. You deserve it. All right, guys. So we're going to call it a session for today. Quick one. Hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. The next one is going to be as usual on Wednesday, and the next one after that is going to be on Friday, 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 22:30 GMT. Remember, by the way, PLO Launchpad introductory PLO course coming out in just 2 weeks. Get it during launch week. It's going to be a great deal. I went over that enough during the stream. I'll have more info for you on Wednesday and Friday if you didn't hear it. But yeah, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Take care.